What's up? What's up? Mic check. Can anybody hear me good? Can everybody hear me? Hear me good? Just stopping by. Shout out to Victor. Anybody hear me good? Make sure everything's going. Last time, the way these things are set up, it's always a problem. There's always like some malfunction. Good. Got the thumbs up. Welcome back to the channel, you guys. It's the Real Nathan Daily. I'm your law enforcement translator, and again, we are here with another live stream. You guys, this is a very tragic one. If you have not heard, I'm not sure if you guys, well, everybody should be familiar with this incident. This is in reference to the quadruple homicide in Idaho, Moscow, Idaho. This happened on a college, I guess you would say campus in a college town. This is, I've been following this. Listen, this has been going on for 3 weeks now. We're a month in. The original incident happened on November 12th to the November 13th, in the mornings of November 13th, around 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, when these murders actually took place. And here we are exactly on the 14th, you guys, a whole month later, and people are upset. People are confused. People are angry. Why? 4 teenagers brutally murdered, massacred inside of a college room or dorm. I'll say it's off-campus housing, murdered. And there's no suspect. There's no significant information that's been released. And people have lost confidence in the police who are investigating the situation. Now, I will say this, there's been some slip-ups from the law enforcement side. This is true. We're going to talk about that tonight. We're going to also discuss some things that are some tools that law enforcement does have at their disposal, what it looks like to do an investigation of this magnitude. This is obviously a type of crime scene, a type of situation that is extremely overwhelming the police department, yet they do have federal help. And we're going to talk about that, how this investigation should have happened. We're going to expose some things, some positive things and some negative things about this investigation. You guys, we're not here to add more speculations to the rumor mill that's been going on in reference to this case. But I will give you my thoughts, my expert opinion on the situation. Now, there are things that I do have some intimate knowledge of when it comes to this, simply because of my background into this profession. As a 13-year law enforcement veteran, you guys, I have a lot of experience. I've been a part of a lot of crime scenes, a lot of murder scenes, and mass murder scenes as well. So I'm going to tell you, give you some insight. You guys, we have a lot of resources to help. What are the police not telling you? Let me clarify some things. I'm going to give you guys an opportunity to come up as well and ask your questions, like we do always at the end or towards the end of our streams. So before we even get into all the details, we do have to be mindful that these are victims. A lot of people are hurting, the family's hurting. So my heart and prayers goes out to them. You guys, at the same time, we know on this channel we do facts over feelings. I'm going to give you the insight as a professional and tell you how we look at these things. And some of the things we're going to talk about tonight are going to be hard to swallow. They're going to be difficult to hear. Unfortunately, that's just the reality of it. There's nothing simple or pretty about this job, about investigating homicides. There's nothing nice about it, how you go about doing it. And sometimes it makes people feel uncomfortable. And sometimes people can't handle some of the raw truth that comes out of these type of investigations. Everybody is a suspect until they are not a suspect. Everybody's a potential suspect, you guys. That's just the reality of it. You'll be surprised. You'll be surprised at the things that happen and the plot twists that take place as evidence is collected. People you thought were innocent were not innocent. People that you thought were a part of it were not a part of it. And that just lends into this big issue that's going on surrounding this case, because you have people who don't know what they're talking about. They don't have the experience. They don't have the knowledge, or they don't know anything. And it's very easy to get caught up in a mystery wild hunt. People want to play like they're Blues Clues, Carmen Sandiego, uh, whoever else, Inspector Gadget, and they start making speculations and statements online. And honestly, what ends up happening is people are getting hurt by that, right? People get harassed, people lose their jobs, like people's lives are impacted by a lot of false and misinformation that's presented, unfortunately. A lot of people, witnesses, were being harassed. Well, not necessarily witnesses, but neighbors and people who were around the college students prior to them being killed. Unfortunately, they had some hard times on social media. People were coming after them, exposing them, doxing them, and things of that nature. So we do have to be careful. This is a highly sensitive subject, and we are going to discuss a lot of interesting things surrounding it. We have a video that we're going to also break down. I'm going to put that out here as well. And you guys are going to take it from top to bottom. There's a lot to cover tonight, and we're going to dive into it. So before we get into that, thank you so much. As I know people are rolling in as you come in, hit the like button and subscribe if you're new to the channel. Again, would love to have you part of this channel if you're not already. Thank you for all my members, and thank you so much to my moderators. I really appreciate you guys. So where are we? So November 2nd, November 13th, if you guys aren't familiar, this is when the incident happened. 4 college students, 3 females, 1 male. There are 6 people who live in this off-campus college home, a resident home. It's 6 bedrooms, I believe 3 bathrooms inside this house. And what the police are giving us is that they were initially, or they were killed in their sleep. While they were sleeping, a suspect entered into the home. Somehow, they don't know, because there was no forced entry at all. And that could mean a couple of different things. The suspect had a knife. The suspect stabbed and slashed the victims to death, literally. And so, what's really sad and tragic about this entire thing, it reminds me of that movie that came out a long time ago when I was in my early teen years, called Scream. For those who remember that movie, Scream, or that movie, which I think this situation is going to play a lot along the lines of I Know What You Did Last Summer, for those who've seen that movie. Both of these movies were before their time, right? As I was coming up and this movie came out, this was like a new form of a scary movie. It was different. It was different. But what's unique about it is they made it relatable to the teens, right? For those who've seen it, if you haven't seen Scream or I Know What You Did Last Summer, this is definitely going to have some similarities. You have college kids, college teens being, doing what they do, young adults doing what they do, and they get caught up in some mischief. And what ends up happening, this is from I Know What You Did Last Summer, for those who haven't seen it, but the killer had a motive. The killer had a motive, whether we agree with the motive or not. There was a motive. There was a reason why the killer killed, why the killer was targeting these young adults in the movie. There was a motive. And I think that also is true in this case here, that there's a motive. I believe the police have already identified what that motive is. And I think that is really where they are pushing their investigation. At the same time, I also believe that though they're collecting evidence, that they don't have a clear idea as to who the suspect actually is. And I'm going to tell you why I believe that, based on what the things that they've said, based on how they've been conducting this investigation. Do I believe they have solid leads? I do believe they have solid leads based on how they've been collecting evidence. They have been a little bit unorthodox in their methods of investigation, yet at the same time, it's gone on for 30 days now, and it seems like they're drawing straws. One of the things that came out recently, a glove was located. The property inside the home was released to the family, and a vehicle that was parked outside the home was impounded. These things are backwards. To be completely honest, the vehicle should have been impounded on day one. The scene should have been secured more properly on day one. There shouldn't have been a mystery glove being, latex glove being located days, and days after the incident. I will say this: the police haven't released a lot of things in reference to what went on inside the house or what they saw inside the house, which is problematic for two things. It makes it difficult to really get an understanding as to how the homicide took place, what happened. But I will say this though, but from what we do know, or I will say for what we don't know, I'll explain to you how these things can be investigated, and then also what we can interpret from those things that has happened so far. So what I'll do is I'm going to play a first clip of this video. That way everybody can be on the same page as far as the information and what's going on. I'm going to show you the victims so you guys can see who they are, because I think it's very important that we start off with that this is about the victims. And I think sometimes people get so caught up in the murder mystery of it all that we forget that there is a family, there are friends, there are people who are hurt by this tragedy. And so, let us introduce who the victims are. I think that's very, very important. To the left to right, we have Madison Mogen, Kaylee Goncalves or Caves, can't pronounce her last name. Xana Kernodle and Ethan Chapin. I believe that's how you pronounce the names. And these are the four that were inside the home that lost their life, that were killed. I think a lot of people are saying a lot of different things as to what happened. And the truth of the matter is these are the victims. At the end of the day, we always have to acknowledge that these are the victims. What does that mean? That means there's only one person that's responsible, which is the offender. I think a lot of people are starting to look at, okay, well, hey, they're part of these groups in school. They may have made people feel uncomfortable, may have done this. Yeah. I get all that. Um, we're not going to really discuss the motive, right? The motive, there's no justification for what happened at all. Absolutely no justification at all as to why this individual felt the need to do what they did. People are asking, is it a he or is it a she? To be honest, you guys, it could be both, right? It could be both. There's just not enough evidence to support anything, any type of speculation. People discussed the weapon of choice, a knife. People also discussed how one victim, I believe it was Kaylee, her injuries were a lot more significant, a lot more brutal than the others. Mind you, what the police are telling us is that they have all been killed in their sleep or while they were sleeping. I don't know what they saw. Unfortunately, we don't know what they saw that that led them to that conclusion. I'm curious as well, but that is what they are saying. What we do know is that two of the girls, Kaylee and Madison, based off of witness testimony, that the person who was on the scene before, while they were alive, witnessing them, stated that that they were extremely intoxicated that night before making it back to their home. And so, does that play a role in everything? Everything plays a role. Everything plays a role. There have been a lot of speculation as to who they think the person is based on a video recording that was taken outside of a food truck. You guys, unfortunately, there's just not enough information to make any type of speculations. People are talking about one of the neighbors who has a very odd social demeanor when he talks. He looks and sounds untrustworthy. I get it. At the end of the day, even that isn't enough evidence to accuse somebody of this crime. Unfortunately, what I do believe is that, of course, the killer is known. That is a fact. That is 100% a fact. The killer is known to the victims. The problem with this investigation is that where it happened at. This is a college town. This is a college house filled with college kids who go in and out of this house all day, every day, all year. What's the problem with that? It's the most tainted crime scene you could ever have. You could ever have. What does this look like? I'm gonna if you haven't seen the house, one of the things is a very, very, very large home, but not only that, let me see if I can pull up a good photo of the house. This is the house. This is the back of the house. One of the things about this home is what I look at immediately is, again, they said there was no forced entry. Okay. There's a sliding door in the back, as you can see. There is a side window here. There's windows in the back, and of course, you have the front of the home. Let me show you a picture of the front of the house, just so you can get a better visual of it. Yeah. This one's good. And this is the front of the house. So the top two here are the victims, of course, and the top bottom here, the couples here, and then the survivors here at the bottom left. 6 people who live in the home, and the 2 at the bottom were asleep when the actual incident happened, according to their statement and according to the police. This is the front of the house. So again, these are 3 stories. You have the first floor is where the survivors were actually sleeping on. The second floor is where these 2 victims here were actually residing, and then on the 3rd floor is where the 2 females were residing here at the top, which was Kaylee and Madison. Kaylee and Madison were actually found in the same bed together, killed. They were killed in the same bed together. And so, I'll show you a map of what their actual room looks like. I'll show you a layout, because that's one of the things a lot of people were questioning as well, is that each room inside this house had locks on them. And so they're wondering, well, how did the killer gain access into these rooms? Did the killer have the code? Did they have access with the doors unlocked? There's so many obviously questions that are still unanswered. We don't know what the police know or anything of that nature, but what we do know is that the killer was inside the home. They don't know how he got in. There's a multitude of ways to get inside the house. One of the biggest problems with this whole situation is that I'm under the impression, and I truly believe, that the killer is known and he knows. And I also believe he's familiar, has been familiar, and he's familiar with the house and the layout of the house, has been in there before. Absolutely has been in there before. And if that's the case, a couple things could have happened. Either, if there was no forced entry, the windows could have been unlocked, could have been pre-opened before the incident. This seems very, to be honest, it seems very planned and orchestrated. Why do I say that? because it seems like there's no blood, no significant evidence left outside of the home. And a murder of this magnitude, to be honest with you, and a murder of this magnitude, and there was no blood left outside, no trace evidence from what we could see, which obviously they did not report if there was, but there was nothing that we know of or that they even stated or could have been seen. I believe they definitely would have mentioned that there was footprints of blood, blood smears on the walls leaving the home. No, this was carried out in a very strategic and tactical way. You know, there have been cases, I've had a case that I was a part of, homicide scene, where the killer killed his entire family. And again, we didn't know that the killer was a relative, but he killed his entire family with a knife, slit their throats. And one of the craziest things was that he was found maybe a couple miles from the house. The issue was that he had no blood on him. He was clean from head to toe. And we asked ourselves, how was this possible? The crime scene was hideous. It was a massacre. He massacred his entire family. 4 people. It was a quadruple homicide. And he killed everyone by slitting their throats with a butcher knife. And he was apprehended 2 miles from the home with no blood on him. And we later found out that he cleaned himself up while he was in the house. Washed himself off. He changed clothes. He had the bloody clothes in a book bag. But when we stopped him, he was absolutely clean from head to toe. When I think about this case right here, it reminded me of that. And as I started really doing research and looking into everything that we do know thus far about this case, I'll be completely honest with you, there's a good chance that the killer cleaned himself up. Cleaned himself up before leaving. People are asking who would do something like this. Guys, nobody's off the table. What's the reality? The reality is there are a lot of murders that take place in this country. And most of them they go unsolved. And a situation like this, it is bringing a lot of attention for a lot of different reasons. This is a small town. I think if I'm mistaken, this is a town of like 30,000 people in it. 30,000. They have like 20 to 30 police officers that patrol this town. I think 36 police officers, if I'm not mistaken. And over the past 15 years, they've only had 7 homicides. 7 over 15 years. Listen, here in Atlanta, we had 7 last week. We had 7 last week in Atlanta. You're talking about a town that had 7 homicides over the course of 15 years. And they turned around and had 4 in one day. The police department's overwhelmed. The community's overwhelmed. They're freaking out, as they should. The fact that they're having a hard time identifying a killer on a college campus in a small town, it's a problem. It's a problem. And the killer obviously is still amongst them. The murder weapon wasn't located. They believe it to be some type of a military knife, one that maybe like the Marines would carry, right? It's a very unique style knife. That to me says a couple things, right? It It's an important knife to the killer. Or the killer's smart enough to know that the weapon needs to be disposed of. When this first thing came out, I said, okay, there's an easy way to solve this. And we're going to talk about that. What's the easiest way to solve this? Who got stabbed first? Who got stabbed last? How do you tell? You guys, stabbing, cutting, all that, very barbaric when you use a knife. It's a lot of emotion involved when you use a knife. That's why initially someone made a statement, said it's a crime of passion. There's a lot of scenarios within this situation that could link all four of these victims together. And I believe when it comes out, not only is it going to be senseless, but then people will also understand. They'll also understand how emotionally broken this person is to have done this. And I think what people don't realize, is that respect is a very, very powerful word. And sometimes the most sensitive people who feel disrespected will lose all moral compass goes out the window, and they'll do anything, absolutely anything, in order to fill that emotional void. Disrespect, you guys. I'm talking about disrespect. There's no justification, but I'm telling you right now, for the murders that I've seen, cases that have been worked, the things people are willing to do, they feel disrespected, violated. They feel violated. What people are willing to do when they feel disrespected, insulted, belittled, shamed. People who are emotionally unstable, you shame them, you disrespect them, you embarrass them in front of others, they'll take you out of here. They'll take you out of here. That's that crime of passion, right? People always talk about. What I think about this particular case, though, is that who are we looking for? We're looking for an individual who was disrespected. We're looking for an individual who was shamed, who was embarrassed, insulted, belittled. That's what we're looking for. We're looking for someone who's been emotionally manipulated. This is how you find the killer. It's how you find the killer. It's so easy. It's so easy. I will say this, though, outside of the forensic evidence, the data, the digital forensic evidence, this should be a piece of cake. Unless he's a trained professional, unless we're talking about a serial killer, and you never know. You never know. I think the problem is, in this country, we've made it so easy for people to just go online and learn how to get away with murder. But I'll say this, killers always make a mistake. They always make a mistake. Always. Always. You think for a second that you've covered all your tracks. There's always a mistake. And I assure you, this person made several. They made several because no matter what you say, the motive exists in this crime. There's a motive that already exists. And once the motive is found, it's game over. It's game over. All you have to do is find the motive. The family spoke about it briefly in an interview. They felt that, that there are people who the police cleared a little too quickly. a little too quickly. I mean, I could see that. I could see that. Then some people are speculating there's somebody who already lawyered up. Well, I can see that too, especially if people are falsely accusing that person. There's a lot of things that the students know about. There's a lot of things that the family already know about that they're not sharing. There are people who are not being open and honest and transparent about the lifestyle of not only these kids, but the college campus, the social activities, the things that take place. People are not speaking up. You know, why? Afraid of being incriminated. This incident is bigger than what we already see. I'm telling you. And I think one of the biggest things that I've always noticed investigating crimes, you guys, is that parents think they know their kids. They have no idea who their children are. Absolutely no idea who their children are. It's one of the things that always surprised me about these type of cases. Parents swear up and down they know their children, and they absolutely have no clue at all. You guys, I end up going through laptops. I go through cell phones. I go through messages. No idea who your children are and the things that they do when they're not in your presence. Everybody's surprised when the evidence starts to come out. Everybody's surprised when the evidence starts to come out. And again, let me repeat myself, there's no justification for this at all. But people in society, unfortunately, they end up instigating their own demise. They do things to others. Everybody can't handle disrespect. Everybody can't handle certain things. And I think, you know, we've gotten too comfortable thinking that there are no consequences for the way we treat others. Have to be careful. Got to be careful with people. You have to be careful. And one of the things that I noticed with the family, they've been discussing a lot. There's one particular family member, I believe it was what is her name? Let me pull this. Kaylee. Yeah. Kaylee's parents have been very vocal. Her father, you know, a lot of people are upset. The parents are upset. They feel like the police have not been communicating well. They've been giving mixed information. And I chuck it up to the police department's inexperience in dealing with this level of this level of homicide or this incident. I mean, it's a serious crime, and you're talking about a huge crime scene. You're talking about a college house where people go in and out, kids go in and out. The place is littered with evidence that would throw off an investigation. Why do I say that? There's going to be fingerprints and DNA, hair samples from probably half the campus, right? When they throw parties, you have people shedding hair, shedding skin, shedding, you know, vomit, spit, blood from jumping around, bruising. There's going to be so much contaminated evidence inside that house. It's going to be hard. But there's ways around it, right? There's ways around it. You have to be careful, right? You get someone's hair or their DNA on one of the bodies of the victim. And you're like, okay, I think this is our killer. Then it's like, no, I bumped into her while we were at the party, the frat party, whatever, and blah, 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 blah. Okay, well, now I got to go through this. A lot of people don't realize how much evidence has been collected behind this incident, and you have to sniff through it. You know, the parents don't realize, people don't realize this type of investigation takes time, right? It's not the TV, it's not movies. It doesn't work like that. I remember I was taking an investigative class, and the instructor who was teaching the course was an FBI agent. What he said I thought was so interesting. He said one of the worst places to work a murder scene would be inside an elevator. Why? Why would working a murder scene inside an elevator be the absolute worst place to work a homicide? Could you imagine having people go in and out of elevator every day? You know, you're kind of, you got to sniff through all that trace evidence, just sitting around, laying around, all kind of stuff. And so again, I kind of look at this house the same way. It's like an elevator full of people in and out, DNA everywhere, everywhere. So it's easy to be misled or misguided through this investigation. So it takes time. You know, the entitlement of some of the parents is mind blowing. At the same time, though, I understand their frustration. Right, they lost their loved one, and three others, right, also died behind this. But at the same time, it takes time. It takes time. You know, this isn't something you can afford to get wrong. You can't get it wrong. And if you falsely accuse someone, you completely ruin their life. All right, we've seen this happen plenty of times before. People get accused, wrongfully accused, and the person fits the mold all day. But there's just circumstantial, but there's no real hardcore evidence that links this person to the actual crime. These things, these investigations take time. It's not so cut and dry. Why? You have 4 victims. You have possibly 4 different motives. You don't understand. They don't understand why they were killed in the first place. Maybe 1, but the other 3. Maybe 2, but the other 2. You don't know. How do you link it all together? You have people on the campus that aren't really helping out those who really, really know. You have some people who feel like they might incriminate themselves, right? At this point, you have people who look more suspicious than others. You have some people who really talk themselves into an investigation simply because they said some things that were inaccurate and they switched statements. There's so much going on. What do you do? Where do you start? Where do you start? Where do you start? Shout out to Dre. Said you have to go through elimination prints. There's prints on prints on prints on prints. There's so much to cover, you guys. You know, and not only that, these labs, a lot of these labs are not designed to, well, these local labs, though they might be equipped to handle crime scenes, but a crime scene of this magnitude. So why the FBI got involved. They're sending stuff back to the FBI crime lab in order to be analyzed properly. These things take time. They take time. And not only that, if you add in the fact that the department initially was so inexperienced with this, we don't know how much evidence was lost within the first 24 hours. Within the first 24 hours. Shout out to Hash. He says, police say DNA evidence so far indicates 12,700 males have been in Kaylee's bedroom. Jesus Christ, is that? See? God, dog. Come on. 12,000 males. I gotta double check to that, but again, that just goes to what I'm showing you guys. This is nothing about this is easy. Nothing about this is easy. You know, when you're dealing with a crime of this magnitude, there's a couple things. There's a couple problems here. Was it more than one person? Is there more than one suspect involved? That could be possible. There's no way for me to even actually answer that without seeing the evidence that they already do have. I know. Chad said he was joking. We know it can't be that many, but the only concern I would have with that evidence being a lot of males inside there, the reality is that you have to look at how long have they been living in that actual dorm room. How many parties have they had there? They already expressed the fact that there have been a lot of parties there, a lot of foot traffic in and out. So, the killer could have already had the layout of the actual home. This to me seems very premeditated, to be completely honest. What does that mean at the end of the day? It means that if there was no forced entry, it's very possible that the killer could have unlocked a window, right? Climbed through a window, went through one of the sliding black back doors. And so all this could be true. Um, that is a actual it's actually a off-campus home. So, and there's 6 bedrooms. They're all supposed to have individual locks. There's no telling how many people have lived there prior to them. So all this evidence, we don't know how well they've cleaned those places before the next person. There is just, and again, they were at a party prior to going home. So they have other people's DNA on them. They bumped and brushed up against people. We don't know if they've changed clothes, if they fell asleep in the clothes they were on when they were already outside. All those things matter. Could you imagine? You've already been out partying around a group of people. You have people sweat on you. They've already confirmed that one of the girls, I believe it was Madison or Kaylee, bumped into a gentleman at the food truck, outside the food truck, or inside the club at the food before going to the food truck. And so you're talking about brushing against someone else and getting their DNA on them. So again, when you're looking at it from an investigative standpoint, we also don't know if either one of them had any type of intimate. They're intimate with anyone prior to. There's so much information. Those things matter. Those things matter. Because that person's DNA will be on their body, right? Saliva, semen, bruises. All these things are factors, and we don't know. So now, if you have bruises from the boyfriend, were intimate, natural bruises, right? Not anything violent. She met with her boyfriend. They're kissing. They're playing around. Then they leave. She goes home. He's doing whatever. Okay, well, his DNA is on her body. Innocent, right? And then she's murdered. Okay, so what are the police looking at? Right, you have this contamination of evidence that's on her. So there's just so much, you guys, that they have to sniff through. It's not that easy. It's absolutely not that easy. And so I just want people to understand that the family, friends, people who are online speculating, saying so much stuff, you guys don't have a clue how this process works, how long it takes to process DNA. Obviously, this case is getting a lot of attention, a lot of pressure. So they are prioritizing it. And even with the priority, you still have to eliminate things. Still have to eliminate things. It's not that easy. Shout out to Dre on vacation celebrating his birthday. Still, he says, supported the channel abroad. Still celebrating my birthday. I would love to investigate this case. It's definitely going to put gray hairs on your head. Yes. For those who don't know, this is a good friend of mine here. Went to the police academy together. He works with the DA's office. And so he's an investigator, you guys. He's worked plenty of murders as well. And so, yeah, if he wasn't on vacation, he'd be the perfect person to really bring some insight to this conversation as well. You guys worked way more murders than I have. I'm just be completely honest, but this is what we're talking about. People who have this experience, who can actually provide insight into this topic, into this issue, you guys, and tell you about the process. This is not an easy process. Listen, it's hard enough to work a homicide with a suspect you do know, with a clear-cut suspect you do know, because even though it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. You guys, people joke around when they say that. I'm telling you right now, you could know who the killer is and can't prove it. You cannot prove it. And the killer will walk away laughing in your face, and so the police have a very difficult job to do. Regardless of what people believe, killers have rights, right? They have the right to remain silent. They have a right to an attorney. And with those two things alone, they can beat a murder case. Shout out to O.J. Simpson. It's not as easy as you guys think. So your DNA was found on the victim. Yeah, we were dancing at the frat party, and I kissed her. I was sweating, so I could see, and she slapped me. I shouldn't have kissed her, but then I slapped her back, and that's why my nail marks are probably on her neck. Here's the problem. During the assault on the victims, one of the victims are saying has some defensive wounds. Defensive wounds. What does that mean? Well, the victim was fighting back. The way the victim was cut suggests that the victim was trying to fight back, defend themselves. Where they were cut, that's how you identify those things. Is it possible that the victim has the DNA of the suspect in between the fingernails? Right? A lot of people are wondering, like, okay, hey, they bag their hands. That's very a common practice. You put bags over the hand to preserve any of the evidence on their hands. But from what it sounds like, the suspect it makes you wonder if the suspect was completely covered with gloves, with long sleeves. Is there any DNA on there from the suspect? We don't know. We don't know. I think one of the things that I'm puzzled about, what I want to know about, is where are the prints? Where are the footprints? Where's the trail of blood? The reason why I say this was a very concerted, meticulous murder is because they're not speaking about any type of reckless evidence that's been left around. They don't know how the suspect entered. They don't know how the suspect left. It appears to me the suspect was very well thought out. This was a very well thought out homicide. Who would I be looking? How do I start eliminating them? Right. Shout out to Dre again. Thank you so much, Dre. Happy birthday again to you. We had a great time. Hit a cigar lounge with him last weekend. We had a great time. Got a chance to meet up with some old Academy friends as well. Enjoy yourself out there, brother. Be safe. And thank you so much for the super chat. Thank you so much, Randy K, for the super sticker, the $10 super sticker. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate you guys for the support. It means a lot. This is a very, very heavy topic. There's so much to cover. So thank you so much for this. I really, really appreciate it. Listen, these streams, you guys, you see I have the Cash App down there, Real Nathan Daily. You see value in the channel, please support. Also, please subscribe if you're new to the channel. Listen, these videos don't get monetized, you guys, unfortunately. So all that you guys donate and give is truly a blessing, and it means a lot. So thank you so much. Again, Daughter of Yah, thank you so much. Also, member of the channel with the $10 super chat. Thank you so much. Said, I'm so glad I made it here. I hope all is well. All is well. Yeah, I'm normally doing streams. You usually sleep by the time I do my stream. So thank you so much. One of my day ones here. She's always supporting the channel and always here to support the stream. So thank you so much, Daughter of Yah, for the super chat. Defensive wounds, hands being covered. What does that mean? They want to see under the nails. They want to see under the nails. What are we looking at? Let's take a look at this. For those who are not familiar with the house, let me show you what level everybody was on when. Show what level they were on when they actually, I guess you'd say, where they were actually killed at. Before diving into that, PJ with the $5 super chat says, supporting the channel and logic from a Leo perspective. Yes, thank you so much, sir. I really, really appreciate it. You guys, you are truly a blessing. I really appreciate all that you guys do and donate to this channel. It absolutely means a lot. It means a lot. Yeah, we're getting a different perspective, and I think it's important because unfortunately, I think this is one of those things where you're going to get the insight from someone who has been on actual crime scenes, who have seen multiple murders, and knows what actually goes in and the man hours that go into it. So never been part of investigation or homicide investigation where the feds got involved, or never been involved in a situation like this of this magnitude. And I think even with my case, the one we had where we had the quadruple homicide, we found the suspect the same night. So, it never got to a point to where we were trying to figure out who came in here and who did this. So this is very unique within itself. So this is the layout as to where the victims were, what floor they were on, and why this is puzzling. People are saying, okay, well, who's the target? Who was the person? Who was involved? Or who was the person that the suspect was targeting? The suspect could have been targeting all of them, absolutely all of them. Um, and shout out to Hash. He says, uh, Nathan, do you normally cover true crime, or is this just a timely topic? No, this is my area of expertise actually, and I cover a lot of controversial topics, especially crime and police related issues, just because a lot of people just are misguided from the misinformation. So I always try to come and bring insight to them. Yeah, check out the videos. We cover a lot of stuff on here, but always centered around law enforcement issues and things of that nature. Great question though. So third floor, Kaylee and Madison were located in the same room. They have separate rooms, but they were found dead in the same room. And I believe it was Madison's room that they were found dead in. But Kaylee received a more brutal injury. I won't say injury, more brutal. Her attack was more brutal based on what her father said. From looking at the autopsy, the father said that Kaylee suffered from a more brutal type of killing, stabbing and slashes. And those who have not seen what knives do, they completely open the body up. You guys, a knife is so dangerous. It's so deadly. If the knife gets across, it'll open you up like a piece of salmon, to be completely honest with you. Those who've seen knife wounds, they're it's very gruesome. And so these victims suffer from slashes and stabs, according to people who have seen the actual photos. So Kaylee and Madison are on the third floor inside Madison's bedroom. Um, Xana and Ethan, this is boyfriend and girlfriend. You guys, they were found in the second floor, killed. And then on the ground floor, Bethany and Dylan, they were not killed, but this is where they were asleep while the killer made their way, or his way, or her way, between the second and third floor. They still don't know how they gained entry. They still don't know. Um, what is the problem with this particular situation? You guys, who was killed first? What type of things would I be looking for in this particular situation? A couple things. The blood. The blood is going to tell the story. Shout out to Preston as well with the $20 Cash App. I really, really appreciate it, brother. Thank you so much. He said for support and recognition. That just came through. Thank you so much. Truly, truly a blessing. Yes, you guys, thank you so much. This really means a lot. Let's dive into this blood, right? Let's work this through, because I want everyone to kind of get a picture of what this looks like. You have four victims in the house. You have two on the third floor, two on the second floor, none on the first floor. We don't know how the suspect gained entry. Had to been through a sliding glass or a window, or the suspect could have walked in the front door, or the suspect could have already been lying wait inside the home. Suspect could have already been in the home. You guys, this has happened before. you know. And so I think people wouldn't think about it like that because, right? They never worked any type of investigations. They don't know what killers are willing to do to get to the prey, right? To get to the victim. What if the killer was already in the home? Very, very possible. Very possible. The blood. What they're able to do with the evidence. You have a knife, assuming it's one person. That means that one knife was used to commit all 4 murders, meaning that how do you know who was killed first? In what order? Well, it depends. Everybody's blood is going to be mixed together. But one person's blood is not going to have everybody else's blood on it. Does that make sense? I have 4 people, right? 4 people. The first person and the second person, their blood should only be together or might not be together. If we're going on the third floor, you have Kaylee and Madison. There's a high likelihood that their blood is going to be mixed together on each other's body because of the homicide. They're closely related. If Xana and Ethan's blood is found on the blood of Kaylee and Madison, it means that the killer went to Xana and Ethan first. Does that make sense? Does everybody follow me on that? That means the killer had to have gone to Xana and Ethan first and committed the crime, and then went to Kaylee and Madison. Their blood is going to all be mixed together on a body. All be mixed together. And vice versa. If the killer started at Kaylee and Madison on the 3rd floor and then went to Xana and Ethan. What I will say, though, is the fact that Bethany and Dylan were not killed, I think that draws a very hard line on a couple of things. One, if they were intended targets, the suspect didn't proceed simply because, one, something caused them to have to leave. 2, they weren't intended targets. And if that's the case, of course, that opens a door for a lot more questions to be asked. And if they were not intended targets because they were in the home at the time of the murder, according to the police, that says a lot. It says a lot. And so that opens a door and changes the direction of the investigation. But it gives you so much information based off of that alone. The order in which they were killed gives you a lot of information. Who was killed first, who was killed last gives you a lot of information as an investigator. Why Bethany and Dylan were not killed gives you a lot of information. And this is like a giant jigsaw puzzle. And as you start putting pieces together, it starts to make a little bit more sense. What's the other clue or evidence or tools that the officers have? You guys, the cell phone. The cell phone. Yep, the cell phone. The GPS fence, these towers ping off these phones. And I'm telling you right now, the technology they have to identify where people are at any given point in time, it's absolutely amazing and a little spooky, to be honest with you. But it's used a lot of times to solve these crimes. One could argue the killer could have just left his phone at home. This is very true. Knowing that police do have access to that type of technology. This is very true. Which leads me to believe this is more of a planned, orchestrated attack than it was something that was spur of the moment. Because spur of the moment, not planned, not thought of, you're more reckless. You leave behind more clues. The less clues and the less evidence a killer leaves behind leads you more to believe that this was planned. That this was absolutely planned. This wasn't a spur of the moment thing. It was done too carefully, too clean, too meticulous for this to be an act of rage, act of emotion. It's my personal opinion. So I want to play this news clip because I think what's interesting about this is, one, we're going to hear from what the family has to say, one of the family members, and then I want to show you a couple things that was said because I think it's very interesting that um, all of the frustration behind the police department, and though I do believe the police department is struggling dealing with how massive this case is, it's not their fault, right? And I think people are upset and frustrated, and they want this thing to be solved overnight, and it just does not work like that. Especially when you have people who are not being transparent, and people who are still trying to maintain a certain image. You know, there was 113 pieces of evidence found in that house, according to the news. It was given to them by the police. 113 pieces of evidence. They don't say what that evidence was, right? One of the things I think the police failed at doing was, I think, was a bad idea, is that they actually gave the family the belongings of the victims. You guys, listen, you don't give anything away. You don't give anything away until the investigation's over. Nothing should have been returned to the family for a lot of different reasons. And this is when we start getting into more of a difficult conversation that people emotionally can't handle. You guys, I've had a case one time where I've actually was dealing with who I thought was a victim. And well, I'll say I suspected him. But then later he was cleared as a victim. And I gave all of his belongings to a family member in the midst of my investigation. And when it came back that he actually was the suspect of this shooting, this armed robbery shooting, I didn't realize the cell phone and the wallet and the keys that was in his possession. I gave it to family member. Family member was like, "Well, I don't want you guys to have his stuff because last time we gave, stuff away, it came up missing and money was stolen out of his wallet, and and these are keys. We need these keys to our house and blase blase, and we're not going to get this stuff back. You guys are so rude about." And I was just like, "Man, I said, let me get this lady these damn keys." Gave her the keys, gave her the wallet, gave her the cell phone. Because, suspects being interviewed is not a big deal. Didn't have enough on him. Didn't have enough on him to prove that he was involved. He matched the description, right? He matched the description, but I didn't have enough. It just wasn't enough of anything to keep him, so I documented his information and, sent him on his way. I think at the time, we weren't able to get a good statement from the victim because the victim was hospitalized, right? So the victim couldn't say too much or whatever at the moment. And this is somebody that we stopped, right? We're driving around looking for people who match the description, and so this guy was close in the area. We stopped maybe like 4 or 5 people that within that time frame, and he was just like another guy who just was just sketchy. A lot of the people I come in contact with are sketchy. So at the moment, there wasn't enough except for just this irritation of a suspicion. But outside of that, there wasn't anything concrete, And this is in my younger law enforcement days, investigating, not really realizing, right? And you guys, what ended up happening was, after further investigation, we found out, after the victim was able to kind of give us a little bit more information, we found out that the victim was missing his car keys, his wallet, and his cell phone. You guys, that guy had his wallet, his keys, and his cell phone. And I gave it away. And so I say all that to say that you don't know what you have until you know what you have. And though this was not a murder that I was investigating, it reminded me of how important it was to never give away a person's stuff who's under investigation. Never, 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 never. Because you don't know what you have. And unfortunately, you guys, something as simple as we think because they're victims and they died, that there might not be evidence that matters amongst their stuff. There could be evidence amongst their stuff that incriminates them as well, or it attaches them to something that might not feel good to hear, right? Something might attach them to another thing, right? Or a crime or something else. Just because they're victims doesn't mean they're innocent of crime as well, you guys. So I say these are the difficult things about investigating crimes, is that you don't know what you have until you know what you have. When I heard they started releasing their property out to, one could argue maybe they went through everything. No, because you don't have all the pieces. You don't have all the pieces. So if you don't have all the pieces, then you shouldn't be giving or releasing anything out to the people, to be completely honest. You guys, until you're done with that house, they're not done with the house, right? The house is still taped up. They still have crime scene tape. They're still processing the scene. They just towed a vehicle away the other day, and it's been a month. It's been a month. You don't know what you have until you know what you have. So, I thought that was very interesting. Thought that was very, very interesting. And so, here's the thing: when investigating these things, right? Homicides, robbery, the motive. The motive is always there. When you find the motive, you find the actual criminal. And there's definitely a motive here. There's absolutely a motive here. And the motive is a link between the 4 victims. And we're not going to speculate because there's not enough information out. There's just not enough information out that the police have provided. So what do we know? We know it's a knife. The knife hasn't been found. We know that it looks like, according to how the police are giving the information, that that though there's evidence in the house, there might not be. The suspect did a very interesting job of keeping the evidence on himself to a minimum. So let me throw this video in here because I think this is what I really want to play a little of. Share this video real quick.
Tonight, it only takes one moment, 1 minute, one night for lives to be turned upside down.
We lost 4 beautiful souls.
The hardest part, we cannot change the outcome.
Let me fast forward this. I want to discuss this piece, right?
Marketing skills, running the social media account at the Mad Greek restaurant where she worked.
And in the end, they died together.
So in this clip right here, I want you to get a feel of the family and what the family has to say about the case, about the investigation. And I thought it was very interesting. It's very interesting how they insinuate a few things. You got to just kind of put it together. But the father and the mother are talking about how they believe the police are handling this investigation, potential suspects that they feel. The problem is the family has an idea. And of course, they've shared that already with the police department as to who they believe. And again, this is a bad time to be and having a bad relationship with any of these 4 victims, because you are primary suspect number 1, right? You're primary suspect number 1. You know, if you just so happen to have gotten into a fight with one of these girls or Ethan, you know, within the last week, last month, you are primary suspect number 1. But one of the things that's very telling in this is that the level of confidence that the father has, that he's speaking with when he's talking during this interview about who he believes and why he believes that this investigation wasn't done properly, and how there are some people who were cleared a little too quickly. And sometimes, you guys, be quite honest with you, that could be a tactic from law enforcement to, you know, honestly, I tell people all the time, especially when I've been teaching other officers, you want people to be as comfortable as possible, especially those that you might believe to be a suspect. You know, you never want to tip anybody off or make them feel like they're being watched. You want them to be comfortable. You absolutely want them to be comfortable. And the reason for that is because it gives you an opportunity to still investigate. You don't want to spook a lead suspect, a primary suspect, because then they'll leave. They'll start covering their track. Maybe they interviewed some people that they're like, oh no, I think this person right here is definitely our guy, but we need a little bit more. So let's let him know, or let the family know, hey, this person's been cleared. Therefore, it buys us a little bit more time, right? So there is a good chance that the police have a strong lead and a strong suspect, and they're not sharing that with the family, because the family is going on television and they're doing press conferences. You guys absolutely cannot. It doesn't work that way. The fact that the police have already shared so much with them, and then again they turn around and they go on the news, is a very big problem. A very big problem for the investigation. You know, unfortunately, it's tragic. This is horrible, but you have to let the police, you have to let the feds do their job by coming on here, talk to the media, and sharing things, providing, insinuating, and making these roundabout responses. All it does is feed to the social media people, the armchair investigators, what they call them, right? It feeds into that, and now you just completely damage this investigation, and you overcomplicate it and make things a lot more difficult, because now you have people putting out inaccurate information. You got people just making shit up, you know, really trying to, and have no clue what they're talking about. And this type of behavior impacts the lives of a lot of people, you guys. And so if I was the police, they should have been issued a victim advocate, and that victim advocate, as an officer or representative of the police department, should have been speaking to them directly and translating to them what the police cannot give them certain information, but also educating them on what they could give them and why it's in their best interest to kind of just chill out. Unfortunately, from what I understand so far, is that the police department has not been doing a good job communicating. Now, communicating doesn't mean giving you information about the case. It just means that you have someone who you can readily reach out to, be in contact with. But at the same time, could you imagine the entitlement that some of the parents are just like, hey, where are we at? You didn't find nobody yet. It's been a month. Where's the killer at? You know, and honestly, I'd be like, listen, it doesn't work like that. It doesn't work like that. I only know as much information as the evidence tells me, and I only know as much information as the victims could tell me. But guess what? The victims aren't here. Right? The victims aren't here. They can't tell us anything. So who do we have to rely on? Their friends, right? Their phone, their data, their computer. That's all we can do. You know, that's all we can do. So this is a comment from, or this is a brief interview from the Kaylee's family. Father and mother are talking about their views on the investigation.
In the same room, in the same bed.
I think all the people working on trying to figure this out, and it really means a lot.
Art Ritzy and funky Moscow, Idaho, the perfect backdrop for the college journey.
Hey guys, I know I talk about myself a lot, but like, what would you guys do in my situation?
The home on King Road, which once hosted Forever Friends, now bears visible scars of the unthinkable. 4 young lives taken, who, as shown on Xana's high school graduation cap, had their sights set on giving the world so much more.
Make sure that you spend as much time as possible with those people because time is precious and it's something you can't get back.
It's just so heartbreaking what these families are going through. I had the chance to sit down with the Goncalves family in Kaylee's home. Their loss, it is so heavy, and they have been vocal about their relentless search for justice and frustrations with the investigation. Here's part 1 of our conversation.
You know, she was hurt so bad that she was not able to recover. That is just terrible.
Oh, it's okay.
It's terrible. I cannot fathom in my head what kind of person did this.
It's capable.
And why. I can't sleep at night. I lay in bed pondering just millions of different scenarios. And just, I want to know, but then there's stuff obviously you don't want to know, you know, but
You just grab
I think I want to know it all, and
You're okay.
I just don't understand why. How somebody can take somebody, four of them, it wasn't just my girl, just so savagely.
Is anyone acting differently since the murders? I mean, is there anyone that you have a weird feeling about that the girls knew or that comes to mind?
Yeah, I would say not in the immediate circle by any means, but.
So let me pause it there. That's a great question. But it should have never been asked. Right? It should have never been asked. This is the problem, number 1, with this entire thing. The family should not be speaking out about anything in reference to the investigation. This information should be only told to law enforcement, to the FBI. Problem number 1. Anybody been acting different? Yeah. Okay, some people have been acting different. That's not evidence to suggest that they're the killer. This is why it's so dangerous to kind of put this information out. Yeah, people have been acting different. Of course, people are going to start acting different for a lot of different reasons. You know, I think this interview has created a lot of problems within this investigation. I'm going to tell you why. As I continue to speak, I'm going to point it out. I'm going to tell you what the issues are. That one statement alone, you're already insinuating, you're already giving out, you're already accusing. This whole thing, you're already pointing fingers. This whole thing turns into a witch hunt overnight. Overnight. And, you know, I just, it's so counterproductive. When I watched the interview, I was like, oh my God. And you guys wonder why the police are not giving you more information. They're not going to tell you anything. They're not going to tell you anything. You are on a college campus. I don't know how many kids go to this school or live within that immediate area, but everybody's a suspect. This is the biggest, can you guess who? It's a mystery game. This is huge. This is huge, you guys. I don't know if they even realize how big of an invest. They don't even have a clue. Everybody on the college campus is a potential suspect. And it could be multiple. It could be multiple people. This is such a dangerous thing they just did. So dangerous. This completely causes an issue in the investigation. Should have never been shared with the public. But listen what she says.
A few of the names that have been circulating around, I think it's hard not to kind of dig into this. And I don't know how much of that is just because we have so little information from law enforcement and how much of it really is, a sister or a father's intuition.
Can you elaborate at all? I don't know. You don't have to give a name, but I mean, is it someone that she knew, or?
I have something to say about that. I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe Xana Kernodle.
The mother says, I believe that there are a couple people who have been cleared a little bit too fast. By whose standard? By whose standard? What does it say to me? It says that there's a possibility that some of the victims may have they've had bad social experiences with other people on the campus, have bad relationships with some of the people on the campus. In the interview, the father made a couple statements on, they were popular, they're beautiful girls, so of course, they have enemies per se. There's a lot of things that go into this based on what I said earlier. Respect is a powerful thing, and disrespect is very powerful. It's very powerful, and emotionally, it's very powerful. People have lost their life from being disrespected. And so, again, there's a lot of things that are being insinuated in here that should have never been stated in the public. Because what happens is now you have everybody who wants to be a detective, and they're taking this information and they're Googling and going online. Some people who live there, some who don't. People are sharing things. Again, that girl that may have had beef with her a couple months ago, now she's primary suspect. Why? Because she's like, well, I never liked Suzanne Jenkins. She's always had it out for my sister. You get what I'm saying? And I think her boyfriend was always jealous of her because such and such and such and such. And you remember that one time she did so and so. And that's how it starts, you guys. That's how it starts. Now you're getting phone calls. Someone's knocking on your door. You got reporters showing up at your house. Hey, we heard that you and Kaylee got into a fight last week over whose boyfriend is doing what to whose boyfriend and girlfriend and blah blah. And you guys, next thing you know, that's it. And then guess what he does? He's like, shit, I gotta get a lawyer. Why? Because now you put fear in me. I don't want anybody. Yeah, we did have a fight. Yeah, I did do this, but I'm not the killer. But now you got a lawyer. Now you look like the killer, right? Then what do people say now? Oh, you heard Susan and Tom got lawyers now. Oh, I knew they did it. I knew they were suspicious. Look at the way he walks. He had a hoodie on that night. The way he had his hat turned backwards. Something about that wasn't right. You guys, this witch hunt, this is what happens. Things spiral out of control that quickly off of these type of statements. You guys, you don't understand how quickly these things can get out of control. And that's exactly what has happened in this case. It's so bad the police had to go on national television and say, hey, listen, if you don't stop, you might find yourself being criminally prosecuted. If you don't stop. People have received death threats. And you don't even know if they have anything to do with the case. People have to go online and give statements online, you guys, because of things that the family has been saying or the things that the public has been saying. You got to be careful. This is not a game. There's so much evidence. You're talking about 113 pieces of evidence that was pulled from that house. You have 4 bodies. You have evidence in each room, phones, computers. Come on. It's just nothing. You got social media you got to go through. You got to comb through everything. Everything. You guys, this isn't TV. This isn't a reality show. Right? Shout out to you. She says, was it Mailu? Mailu? It's a pretty name. I can't imagine the pain of the situation, but the family reminds me of the mob justice mentality. Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Everybody wants the killer found. Nobody wants the killer to be free. At the same time, show some respect for the people who are working 24 hours straight. You guys, this stuff is not easy. It's not easy. Everybody wants the killer. Hell, I want the killer. We all want the killer, you guys. We all want him or her, them. We all want justice for them, for the victims. Unfortunately, I think what the entitlement to believe that just because your loved one's life was taken in a homicide, you believe that the crime's supposed to be solved overnight. You believe that, or you forget that the majority of homicides go unsolved for years. For years. Thank you so much, my dear. I really appreciate the super chat. Very true about the mob justice. Very, very accurate. Jeffrey Dahmer, you guys, was a serial killer. And they didn't solve those crimes for a very long time. A very long time. We all want justice. We all want justice. But getting on here and spreading information that shouldn't be shared with the public, yeah, that's not going to help.
Yeah. Share the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can
like,
dismiss
an hour later, and we're like, what? And I don't know. I don't know anything about those individuals. I just know they were people that, definitely should have been looked at and cleared.
Let me rewind it back.
You don't have to give a name, but I mean, is it someone that she knew, or?
Listen to what the father says. They had a strong alibi. We're gonna talk about the strong alibi argument.
I have something to say about that. I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe Xana, and yeah.
Share the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can dismiss
an hour later, and we're like, what? And I have something to say about that. I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe Xana, and yeah.
Share the strong alibi.
Just really fast.
If you can
All right. What did he say? She had a strong alibi. There we go. There we go. It starts. She had a strong alibi. That's it. That's it. What's the problem with that statement? What if the killer is a male? What did you just do just now? You now turn this entire investigation in the public's opinion on a woman. On a woman. You have just on national television told everybody that you suspect it was a woman. She had a strong alibi. She had a strong alibi. You guys, you know how dangerous that statement is? You know how dangerous that statement is? Now, the women who live on the campus, people are watching them now. What if the suspect is a male? Is it possible the suspect can be a woman? It's possible it could be two women. It's possible to be a man and a female. You guys, anything is possible. There's no evidence that suggests anything. And the police haven't provided anything. The problem with mob justice is that you can get it wrong. You can accuse the wrong person. You can turn this into a witch hunt. You can have people accused who are innocent, who are absolutely innocent. Why did they feel the need to go on national television to make this statement? She had a strong alibi. You know, what bothers me about things like this, now granted, this might be a police department who has not experienced a lot of consistent murders, investigations within the department. I get it. At the same time, it doesn't mean they're idiots. It doesn't mean they don't know how to do their job. They may not be as efficient as you want them to be. They might not have as much experience. Nonetheless, they do this job. They have resources and they have help. But I'm telling you now, the things that these people are saying on television is not helping this investigation at all. At all. She had a strong alibi. Who is she, sir? Who is she? I think it's very interesting that he would be so bold. They would be so bold. They think that they're helping. Think that they're helping. Because they're not satisfied with the way the police department has been telling them about the case. There's nothing for them to tell you. They can't share probably 90% of the case with you. I don't understand why that's so hard to understand. I don't get it. I don't get it.
You know, an hour later, and we're like, what? And I don't know. I don't know anything about those.
They were cleared an hour later. We're going to talk about alibis, right? They're cleared an hour later. What is it saying to me? This is why it's so dangerous. You want this person to be the suspect. You want this person to be the offender so bad. This is who you want it to be. Your mind has been made up. Your mind's been made up. You can't see anything else outside of who you already think it is. You can't be a part of this investigation. Why? Because your views on it are already tainted. You're biased. You can't be impartial. You can't separate yourself. You know something. You know something. You know that your daughter had some type of adversary, and you believe that this person hates your daughter enough that she would take her life, that she would kill her. And you can't see anybody else being the killer. What does the mom know? What does the sister know? What does the dad know? That her daughter, sister, had some enemies or frenemies, like they call it. They know she had some enemies. And they're so convinced it has to be her. Only she would kill her. You guys, that's powerful. That's what I get from that. That's what I get from that. They let her go too soon. She had a strong alibi. Within an hour, they let her go and released her. If she had a strong alibi, there's two things behind this strong alibi. Either someone else conspired with her, right? And gave her that alibi because maybe she was somewhere she shouldn't have been and would have made her look more guilty. Why? Because maybe that person that they think did it would have, if being honest, would have put themselves in a negative and a bad light, right? Would have made themselves look more suspicious because of the relationship that she has with the victim. The alibi was too strong, is what he said. Someone says that, what's the first thing that comes to my mind? It means that it was too solid. Like, it was just too convenient. But what does that mean? Does that mean someone was covering or helping her lie about something? But you guys, there's a way to break that too. There's a way to break that. You shake down the person who's confirming the alibi. Or sometimes the strongest alibi is video evidence. Hey, this is me right here in the restaurant during the time that murder happened. I was right here. Or during the time the murder happened, I was clocked in at work. And here's me going with video at work. I got people at the job saying I was right here. You guys, that's a strong alibi. What's another strong alibi? Oh, she was here at the house babysitting. I was here too, right? You have someone else to corroborate your statement about where you were. There might not be any video evidence. Maybe they also have the evidence of her phone, right? That they were tracking the movement of her phone. They can see all those things, right? Maybe she gave up evidence, right? She gave up her evidence, biological evidence. They, hey, we need to get some of that DNA off you. Hey, we need to get your prints. She was probably like, shit, go ahead, knock it out. Take what you need. I'm not the one. So they cleared her in an hour. Or the family could be 100% right. Right? But that's not something you share on national television. That's not something you share on national television. What you think, what you feel like. This has nothing to do with your feelings. Keep your feelings to yourself. This is a quadruple homicide. Your daughter's only one of the victims. How selfish of you to turn around and make it all about you. She wasn't the only one who died that night. What I see is selfishness. I see entitlement. I see disrespect. I see disrespect. How dare you not give us the information about what's going on in this case? I see disrespect. Very selfish what they did here. Very inconsiderate. Very inconsiderate. This goes beyond the pain, beyond the frustration. The police department may not be perfect, but they care about solving this crime. Show some respect, right?
Individuals, I just know they were people that, definitely should have been looked at, and yeah.
I don't know what would prevent you from sharing somebody's alibi.
Yeah, I think that's
do you hear that? Do you hear that? The arrogance behind that statement. This is a quadruple homicide. This is a quadruple. You are not the only victims behind this. I couldn't believe what I heard him say. I couldn't believe it. What did he say? Why can't you share? I don't understand what's the big deal about you not sharing the alibi. So it's none of your business. You'll hear about it in court. But it's I can't share that with you. I don't understand, the delusion behind that statement. But here's the danger in that. Right? I'm working an investigation. You want to know everything you shouldn't know. And you want to know about the alibi. You know what happens? Me as the investigator, all right, let me tell you what they said the alibi was. She was babysitting at the house with so-and-so, so-and-so. Now, this overzealous parent decides to take that information because they're not satisfied with what was told to them. Then they want to go and they want to play 007 now, right? They then were like, okay, well, you're at this house. I'm gonna knock on that door tomorrow. Hey, why'd you tell the police you're over here? And they said they saw you over here. Why are you lying to the police? Now you got harassment, right? The reason why these things aren't shared because people try to take matters into their own hands. And they get hurt. People get hurt behind this stuff, you guys. You cannot share this information. You can't. You can't. Absolutely cannot. Absolutely cannot.
You don't have to give a name, but I mean, is it someone that she knew, or?
I have something to say about that. I just feel like there's been a couple individuals that were cleared very fast. That may not, maybe he should not have been And yeah,
She had the strong alibi.
just really fast.
If you can
like,
dismiss
an hour later, and we're like, what? And I don't know anything about those individuals. I just know they were people that definitely should have been looked at, and yeah.
I don't know what would prevent you from sharing somebody's alibi.
Yeah, I think that's what we're struggling with. So it's like, we know what we know. We've, fought for Jack, Kaylee's boyfriend, and, we still stand that way. So I did just kind of want to clear that up while we're talking through this ambiguity that, that's not what we're honing in on here.
We don't want to make more victims out of innocent people.
Exactly.
We definitely don't want to do that.
No. You've mentioned before that.
But that's exactly what you're doing, though. That's exactly what you're doing, despite, I would say, your good intentions. I remember a supervisor told me the road to hell was paved with good intentions, and I think this is very true in this conversation. You mean well, but honestly, there's a saying that patience is bitter, but its fruit is sweet. And I think the big thing about this is you got to be patient. Hash, you're absolutely correct. They are driving the police crazy, and the police are trying to be, especially the chief. I tell people, listen, over 15 years, they've only had 7 murders, 7 homicides. We did 7 last week here in Atlanta, right? These major cities see crime, the detectives, the officers, investigators they're trained and they're very well experienced on doing these type of investigations, maintaining crime scenes, what to look for, how to interview, and things of that nature. And so this is not an easy case for this department, but they have help. They have help from the DOJ. Or is it the FBI? But the feds are involved, so they're not at this thing alone. Any missteps were more than likely corrected already. And so I think, shout out to Dre. It was Dre talking. Dre said the chat just had a reality check. It's not what you know, it's what you can prove. Who can prove this case and get it to trial ready and maintain your sanity while you do so? Yeah. How many killers are the killers and go away scot-free because they couldn't put the evidence together properly? It don't matter what you know, you guys. What you know doesn't mean anything. I know a lot of stuff. Hell, I know how to make $1 million, but if I can't show you, then it ain't real. The reality is it's not what you know, it's what you can prove. That is the cold reality of the criminal justice system. If you can't prove it, it means nothing. It means nothing if you can't prove it. I can confess to a crime. You can't put all the dots together. They'll tell you to prove it in court, and you can't prove it. You can't find any of the evidence. I'm gone. I'm free as a bird. Free as a bird. A lot of people get away with murder in this country off of a technicality. Shout out to you, Dre. Thank you for the super chat. Absolutely correct. Absolutely correct. Mickey Beaverson says, I think they know who the killers are, killers are, but need to get the case together. We have a justice system for sure. Getting a conviction is much different than pointing the finger. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. Absolutely true. And I think that within itself, I think that the police are definitely on to something. The police are making strides, I believe. I just think that I think the communication piece is a real thing. I think they haven't really been communicating in a way that kind of exudes this confidence. And I think a lot of that just has a lot to do with their inexperience dealing with these type of cases. A lot was brought down on the police department fairly quickly, but at the same time, again, they have a lot of help. And so, people just have to trust the process.
You didn't want to have a funeral right now because the killer's still out there. Is that something that you're still thinking about? Are you nervous at all? I mean, because in Moscow, we talked to students. People are really nervous there.
They should be.
Yeah.
This targeted to me, it seems behavior based. That's why I don't like it, and it kind of pits the parents against each other. So I don't like that. I just told some of the other parents today that if your daughter has no ill will for me, man. To me, if you go have a couple beers or go out and hang out with your friends and then come home and go to bed, if that's your target, then I think we all do that. I think we all come home and go to our beds.
It's all target.
Yeah. So
it's kind of a bad word then. It doesn't really make sense in some ways.
Exactly.
Even the prosecutor told me that.
Yeah.
He said, I think it was kind of a weird word to choose.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, if it makes sense if there was some bad behavior that they did, let's say, I don't know, they came from a strip club or something, and then somebody followed them home. That's a targeted thing. That's what comes. I've had innocent people that were interviewed that were their neighbors, and they said, I'd be a lot more scared if it wasn't targeted.
Yeah.
Because I'm not doing anything to target me.
So the logic is flawed, but let's talk about it, right? The father is making a statement, and the family's talking about, there was a statement the police department gave out and said that this looked like a targeted attack, which, based on the evidence that they see and they have access to, you guys, and whatever other information they have access to them, that very much well could be accurate. What are they saying? That this was intentional. This was an intentional killing. This wasn't an accident. This wasn't a situation where some serial killer just like, oh, look at these, look at this opportunity here to take some lives. No, based on whatever they saw, whatever they know in reference to the evidence, they're like, no, the killer wanted to kill these individuals. What he's saying is, I think another thing that was brought up in this case was that their daughter, Kaylee, unfortunately, the attacks on her body, the wounds on her body were very gruesome. And they were more barbaric, right? On her person, in comparison to the other victims. So when you're looking at that as an investigator, that's a clue, you guys. It's a huge clue. It can mean one or two things. One, she was either fighting back, or two, there was a emotional response for this particular victim by the killer. And so that does mean something, right? That's a clue, you guys. It's an absolute clue. The fact the killer used a knife is a clue within itself. Majority of times people say women tend to use knives and men tend to use guns. There's truth to that, but it doesn't mean you rule out men simply because. Now, depending on things, there are also things that you look at where, blood splatter, how a person was stabbed, how the knife was held, the type of knife that was used. All these things, are clues. They're clues. They're not definite, but it does paint a better picture. What type of knife was used? The knife was, the knife left with the suspect. I'm thinking, man, all day. Situations like this, someone inexperienced would have, left the knife at the scene, left the knife close by. They would have had an emotional response after the killing and dumped everything, spread a bunch of evidence, had a moment of confusion, would have had a moment of regret, and oh my God, look what I did, and then left. No, this was carried out. This was orchestrated. This was meticulous. This was planned. This is planned. Who do you look for? You look for a person who has been, one, arrested before, two, violent tendencies, someone who possibly has domestic charges on their record. I think that's also a good start. Someone that's not a stranger to violence or anger, maybe having anger issues, very impulsive. There's a way to break down this personality. Someone just killed 4 people and walked away like it wasn't a big deal. Yes, there's something here. Something here. There's absolutely something here. You just don't wake up, take a bunch of lives, and then like, well, another day at the office. The mind's not wired that way unless you're a psychopath. So unless we're dealing with the psychopath, you guys, then, right? Yeah, I heard about the hoodie guy. They're talking about the hoodie guy. But, you know, there's nothing to indicate him as being a killer. People are looking at the way he looked, the way he walked, what he did, what he said. Man, you know, does anybody watch these murder mystery movies? And they give you the most obvious person as the killer, the one that is most likely to do it. I'm telling you, when they find the killer, you guys, and they're going to find the killer, people are going to be blown away. People are going to be blown away. I've heard of cases where obviously killers have shown up at the funeral. The killer, I've worked personally cases where the killer called the police. We didn't even know that he was the killer. We're talking to him, and her was boyfriend and girlfriend, where the girlfriend helped the boyfriend cover up the body. You guys, I've worked cases, been a part of cases where we've interacted with the killer. They're at the funeral. They're hugging the victim's parents. Hell, the one with the girl over in Mexico, in Cabo. You guys, they came home, brought the girl's stuff back to the mom, and told her that she died of alcohol poisoning. You guys, you have no clue what people are capable of. You think the hoodie guy is the suspect because he looks like a suspect. It means nothing. Looks mean nothing. That's what's so dangerous when you judge people by how they look, how they walk, their skin color, how they talk. You guys, you just can't, you have to close your eyes and let the evidence guide you. What the family is doing there, they have their eyes wide open, and so much, they're focused so much on what they think and what they feel. You got to let the evidence point you in the direction. Got to let the evidence point you in the direction. Because the facts don't care about your feelings. Everybody is searching for their feelings in this case. The feelings are going to lead you astray. The feelings are going to get somebody hurt. The feelings are going to accuse the wrong person. You have people who were in prison for murder that they did not commit, all because of people's feelings and the feelings of the public opinion. These public mobs, right? We have the kids out there in New York, right? District, what they call District Park, the District 5, right? They stated that those I think it was 5 black kids, they were kids, juveniles, raped a woman in the park in New York, who was jogging, raped and killed her. Central Park 5. Central Park 5. Remember that? Central Park 5. They were accused of murder and rape because, I don't know, they're black. It looked like they would do something like that. Come on, you can't, the man in the hoodie, everybody's a suspect. Even the victim's parents are suspects, you guys. No one's off the table. No one's off the table. There was a case here in Atlanta where the son orchestrated the murder of a family member just to take ownership over a business. He was like a reality star or something like that. And the grandmother had she was making cakes and cupcakes or something like that. Pies. She was making pies or something like that. I can't even remember all the details. But her son got, I think it was his nephew. Don't quote me on it. Anyways, the man hired a hitman, paid somebody off, a couple people to kill this person so that he can take ownership of the business. Man, listen, You guys have seen it all. Seen it all. Remember the Menendez brothers? Those who remember that, old enough to remember that? Right. It happened when I was young. I still don't forget that. Two brothers killing their parents for some money. Said their parents were abusive. Man, come on. Everybody's a suspect. This is a murder mystery for a reason. Everybody's a suspect. Yep. Everybody's a suspect, you guys.
And I'm like, well, if targeting's just going to bed with your friend.
So maybe that was just a way to calm people down?
I feel like it was strategic.
Yeah.
It was a strategic way to keep people from hitting the door, transferring out, and turning that place into a ghost town.
So the father makes a statement, an allegation. He's insinuating that the reason why the police said this was targeted because they believe that this is more of a political ploy, right? This is a political thing. They want to say that, one, to give people a false sense of security and say that, hey, this was a isolated incident, right? In so many ways, that's what they're saying. This is an isolated incident. So don't worry. The killer got who they were looking for, you guys. So calm down, come back to school. Don't leave the campus. And that could be true. And that could be 100% false. We don't know. But that was very bold to say that, but that is what he's feeling. That's what he's feeling. Why? Because he did not like the evidence or the information that the police were giving the public. Why? Because it made his daughter look like the bad guy or bad girl. Right? What is he complaining about? He's saying, hey, they said that my daughter was targeted because she was assaulted differently than everybody else. What does that mean? It makes me look bad as a family. It makes our family look bad. Makes it seem like you're trying to victim shame my daughter. I get it. I get it 100%. I understand why he feels that way, but he should have kept it to himself. Right? That's not something that needs to be put out here on national news. It's crazy. It's crazy. And so, again, when they say it was targeted, they shouldn't have said that. It was premature. I don't think they had enough information, or I don't know. But strategically, that wasn't the right thing for the police department to say. I think they spoke too quickly in reference to that. And again, you can't back that up significantly with evidence. And so now people are asking questions. People are asking questions because they're like, hold on. It's targeted. Okay, what gave you that? Tell us why. Anything they say, anything that comes out of their mouth, people are going to want that to be backed up substantially with information. What should he have said? This is an active investigation. We are collecting a lot of evidence, support from the community. We cannot release anything as of now. We do have some good leads. And as soon as we're able to provide more information, we'll provide more information. I will take any questions that won't compromise the investigation. Okay. Can you tell the conditions of the body? Everybody was brutally slashed and stabbed by the suspect. Next question. What did he say? Well, we know that Kaylee was significantly more brutally. It looked almost like this. And he went into specific details he should have never, I don't know who said it, but that should have never been shared with the public, period. Why? Because now everybody's speculating. Right? There's certain things you just absolutely cannot share with them. Absolutely cannot share. You know, so we don't know how, we don't know. Couple things. Someone brought up the Hyundai or the white vehicle. Couple things, couple problems with that vehicle. It's going to be two things. Either that vehicle has nothing to do with this crime at all, and it's hard to say because in relation to, first of all, we're in a college town, you guys. It's not uncommon for anybody to be out past 3 o'clock in the morning, unless that gas station or convenience store, or whatever it was, unless it's right next, damn near the only road out of the area from this location, I don't know. And it's hard for me to speak on because I don't know the layout of that. I don't know how far that camera was taken from the actual scene of the crime. What the roadways. Now here's the problem with that. If there's 7 different ways out of that area, right? If that's not a main road, if there's only one way to get to that place from here, okay, that's a little different. At the same time, listen, it's unless they have more intimate knowledge of the vehicle that they're sharing, then that's different. But when they brought it up on the news, like, hey, we're looking for a vehicle, could possibly know some information, you've already given away the vehicle. And they didn't say that with confidence that that's a suspect. What did Dre say? Dre said, I wouldn't tell the family a damn thing until an arrest is made. Absolutely agree. Absolutely agree. You don't tell them anything. You don't tell them anything. There was no, I don't think, again, it's hard for me to speak on the car because I don't know where that store was in relation to the crime. In reference to the scene of the crime, it's not like this was a video taken leaving the actual neighborhood or community where the college students were living at. That's one thing. If that's the case, they're saying, okay, well, that car drove by like around 3:00 in the morning at a high rate of speed. Okay, what's the crime in that? That's why they said, we want to talk to you because you're out at this time of night when this incident happened. Maybe this, maybe that. Okay, cool. But then you talk to them, and what did it say? 350, and someone said 354. Thank you. 354. So not to say it's not a clue, but it's easy. Could you imagine that person coming forward? What are you going to ask them? What are you going to ask them? And what leverage does an officer, an investigator have about getting information from them that they're not willing to give? What are you gonna do? You can't. Again, you guys, I think one of the problems a lot of people don't realize is the police, as crazy it may sound, especially the feds, just because you're investigating a crime of this magnitude doesn't mean that you can overreach onto people's constitutional rights. I know it sounds silly, right? It sounds crazy, but you can't. Because if they do, check this out. If they do cross the line and violate even an inch of a person's Fourth Amendment rights, we call that fruit of a poisonous tree. What does that mean? You could find the killer by violating somebody's constitutional rights, and guess what happens when you go to court? They walk. They walk. They absolutely walk. And so you find, I'm gonna respond to this too. This is a good question. You find the person driving the car. Okay. Now what? You find the person driving the car. What are you going to ask them? Hey, where were you around 2 to 4 in the morning? What were you doing that night? I plead the fifth. I don't want to lawyer. I don't want to answer no questions. It's none of your business what I was doing. It's none of their business. It's none of your business. What are you going to do? Make me talk? What do you have? You have nothing. You have nothing. You have a car driving by, a camera. The best thing you can do is, sir, we're doing our best to solve this. I'm not saying you did it, but we're asking if everybody can volunteer their DNA. Lawyer, what are you going to do? The judge won't even give you a subpoena on the phone. You have nothing. You have nothing. How do you find that car? Easy. Check rental cars, check registrations for that state. Everybody who has a white Hyundai, good luck. The judge ain't gonna give you no search warrant though. You have nothing. You have nothing. How do you narrow it down? Easy. You need a roster of every single kid that lives in that area. You need a roster of all their parents. You got to pull that stuff from the school. They'll give it to you. You can get a search warrant for that. Why? Because everybody is a potential suspect in that area. It's a student. It's absolutely a student. Right? So, you know, you guys, these investigations aren't easy. It's not going to be easy to pull information. You got to have something connecting you. They have nothing, you guys. That's why they say we want to ask them we want to ask the driver of this car some questions. We want to know if they know anything about. That's why they can't say this person is a suspect or an offender. They don't have anything. They don't have anything, you guys. You don't know, but they stopped a group of kids at 3 o'clock in the morning, walking maybe about 5 minutes, you know, literally across the street from the house between this time when they believe these murders were taking place. They stopped like 4 kids. Guess what? What does that mean? What does it mean? You know, there was a glove that was found almost 11 days after the murder outside that the police missed when canvassing the area. The problem with that is they didn't secure that crime scene properly. Guess what? They find the glove. I've seen this happen on trial, right? They find the glove. There's no, the evidence wasn't secured, right? So we look at it as what is the chain of custody? It's one of the things we talk about is when was it obtained? Who was it given to? Who signed off it? How was it secured leading up to this point? You got to be able to show that the police were able to obtain it as closely related to as when the crime occurred as possible. Because if you find a glove outside the house 2-3 weeks later, 2 weeks later, guess what? Man, that's weak evidence. I mean, it's good. It's good, but it'll be challenged. It'll be challenged. What if the killer came back and started throwing shit in the crime scene? Right? They just started flinging shit in the crime scene. The crime scene's wide open. You have the news media walking around, taking pictures, everybody showing them. Come on. Whatever they didn't find on the first day is an attorney will tear it apart. If you did not secure it on the first day, the second day, I'll even give you the third day. Nah, I wouldn't give you the third day. Whatever you didn't find within the first 24 hours, an attorney will pick it apart. You know, that glove could have been planted by the killer to throw the investigation off, as it's doing now. Because a random guy from out of state showed up and found it. Who's to know he didn't contaminate the crime scene on purpose? You guys, as investigators, as officers, you don't trust anybody. Anybody. You'd be surprised how the killer be connected to so-and-so and so-and-so. Laughing at Trey. You guys, this is Trey's stupid. I remember one time we had a crime scene and a guy was walking by smoking in the crime scene. You guys, come on. You know how many people they had going in and out of that place? What if you had an investigator who tired, working 7 hours in the house, processing the crime scene? Guess where the glove was found? It was found next to a trash can, right? Which we know they went into. You gotta check You got to check the trash can. The killer wouldn't be stupid enough to dump the evidence in the victim's trash can outside the house. He's not that stupid, right? Could you imagine? You're working the crime scene and you're taking the gloves off and you forget because you don't have any experience on this level of magnitude and you throw your gloves away. You think you throw your gloves away in the trash can outside of the crime scene. And you think you tossed it in, but it bounced off and hit the ground. Now the prints come back and it's yours and they knock on your door and they're like, well, the killer was actually the crime scene technician. His gloves were found at the murder scene outside the house. What does that sound like? Dexter, right? Dexter. Who was Dexter? Dexter worked for the police. And he was a cold-blooded killer, processing the crime scenes of the people that he killed. Come on now. The police towed away a vehicle at the scene of the crime weeks later. Guys, the evidence gathering was horrible. You're supposed to start on the outside and then go on the inside. What they should have did was massively cut off as much as possible. I would have blocked everything off. A tent, I would have put up tents over the damn house, sealed it all off. Sealed it. You can't, there's nothing to crawl under. I would put stakes on the ground, locked it all off, past the curtilage of the house, made everybody, no one's allowed to walk around this area. Locked it all off, 24-hour surveillance outside of the house where I've actually set up a perimeter that you cannot see through. And then I would have put 24-hour surveillance with inside the perimeter, always having law enforcement watching the house, one on the front, one on the back. That's how you lock a crime scene down of this magnitude. It's big. This is big. Thank you. Hash said it. They should have impounded those vehicles ASAP. ASAP. Vehicles sitting out for weeks. Weeks. Easy to taint evidence, you guys. Easy. You know? Easy. You have the media, and you'll see it in this video. He's walking all around, zooming in on the patio, looking around. Oh, shit. Hey, look, guys, look what I found just now. That's embarrassing. That's embarrassing. You know, but let me finish through this one so you guys can hear what the family's talking about.
You never think you're going to lose your little sister. Ever. Yeah. You never think you're going to have to bury your daughter.
Absolutely unbelievable. It's nothing compared to the pain that I feel.
Yeah.
Losing Kaylee. And I don't know. It's several things. It's her age. It's how it happened.
It's her life.
Why it happened. Mm-hmm. Who did this to her?
Just graduated.
Who did this to her and her friends? The fact that she was with her best friend. I mean, since they were little girls.
That family tonight is so heartbroken. I've been in touch with them. It's literally unimaginable to think about.
This is exactly what I was talking about.
And oh my.
This is the news, guys.
And it's very, very slippery. But we're going to walk you up to the back of the house. No windows on the side of the house. You've got the front door obviously on the front, which we know has the coded lock. On the back of the house, though, is where the bedrooms are. Confirmed that Kate injuries.
Brian, I think we just lost your mic, and I'm not sure. There, no, you're back. You're back. Can you just repeat what you said in the last 10 seconds? Your mic went dead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I was explaining that we confirmed that Kaylee's injuries were more significantly brutal than Maddie's. We've also confirmed that they were on the third floor. I'm going to have Mo show you. Third floor here, where not easy access. You've got the balcony. There's a slider. You can't easily jump up there. So what this has us wondering, Ashley, and I want you to kind of walk through this with me. If Kaylee's injuries were the most severe up on the 3rd floor, and there's no way out of the 3rd floor, would that mean the killer specifically targeted the 3rd floor? Because it doesn't make any sense. Why would the killer go up to a floor where there would not be an easy exit for him? What do you make of that, Ashley?
Look how wide open that crime scene is, allegedly. This is, I see you guys talking about the frat and the relationship with the frat house and things like that. Listen, I think everyone is a suspect. How would I start this investigation off? One, you need a massive team. You need a massive team. There's no way around it, and everyone has a specific job. Obviously, you start with your lead suspects, of course, and you listen to what the people are telling you, because again, one of the most important things is the people are going to talk. Best believe the students are talking, and they're providing a lot of good information, a lot of good tips, and those tips have to be verified. And every person that I'm interviewing, the first thing I'm going to ask you, I'm going to slide you this document across the table, and I'm going to say, hey, listen, Tom, Luke, Mark, John, whoever you are, slide across the table. You know what this is. Very tragic incident that's taken place. Unfortunately, we want to rule everybody who's closest. We want to rule everybody out who's closest to the victims, and then we're going to go outward. This speeds up the process. I appreciate you coming in here today to speak to us. It means so much to us. And, of course, more than likely their parents are going to be there, right? Their parents are going to be there. And, right now we don't have any solid leads on anybody. But we want to rule out this entire frat group because, the victims were at this party. And so we want to just clear through people as much as possible and just, keep moving, keep trucking, so we can focus on not those who are closest on the inside, but maybe those on the outside. We believe it's an outside person. As an investigator, as interviewing people, you gotta stress the truth. You gotta lie. You do have to lie to get people to cooperate. It is okay for us to do that. It's absolutely legal, right? And so what would I say, you guys? I would say, listen, we are asking those that we interview to volunteer to just give us a sample of their DNA, just like a swab and just the handprints and these things, just to compare with what we have so we can rule everything out. And, after that stuff ends with the investigation. It's destroyed after the case is over. It's not anything that's going to be inputted in a system where you're going to be monitored forever. Nothing like that. But if you just so happen to sign right here, give us permission, just give us your prints, give us a little bit of that, and, tell us where you were last night, how it went. Can you do that for us? Tom, Luke, Mark, John, right? Corey, David, right? Can you do that? So that's how I would start off, right? Believe it or not, you may think that people probably wouldn't make an issue with that, but a lot of people would have an issue with that. A lot of people would have an issue with that. Hey, do you mind if we just swab your cheek and get, your fingerprints? We just want to, right? What do you think people would say? If you're innocent, would you cooperate? In the chat right now, I'm curious. Put a 1 in the chat if you would willingly surrender your saliva, a cheek swab, fingerprints. Would you, if you lived on the college campus, you're a college student here, and you are, you're living in the area, and you are, again, out of everybody's a potential suspect, would you be willing to give up your DNA? Would you? I'm curious. Would you give up your fingers? Would you give up a fingerprint? Would you give a cheek swab? 1 for yes, 2 for no. Bruh man said nope. Bruh man said you might catch me on something I did last year. Bruh man said nope. Would you give up your DNA? Common sense expert said no. So you're not giving it up. You're a college kid, police investigating a quadruple homicide. You know. Hashcat said 3. He said, I'll give y'all. Hash said, nah, man. He said, my DNA probably all through these walls. He said, I got too much DNA around the school. I can't be giving up no DNA. I feel you, Hash. I feel you. I think a lot of this goes to people not really trusting the police. You know. Yeah, if you're subpoenaed to give it, you don't have no choice. You know, they'll force the sheriff show up and hold you down. You know, if you're subpoenaed, but again, that goes to do they to be one of those 12,000. I think one of the biggest problems is, you know, people don't trust the police. You know, it's unfortunate, but that's the culture right now. People don't trust the police like that. You would have to bring some strong evidence. So, you know, I'm curious to know what you guys think. I'm gonna drop the link real quick. Anybody want to come up and add your thoughts to this case? It's completely crazy. But I really want to get your thoughts on this. If anybody wants to come up before we shut it down, let me drop the link in the chat. Any questions? T King said it's not so much about trust as much as about protecting yourself. That's true, though. That's true, because unfortunately, you know, the police have gotten it wrong. Investigators have gotten it wrong, you know, with DNA evidence. You know, I won't say with that DNA evidence, but circumstantial evidence and then DNA evidence and the clearing somebody later on down, you know, type of thing. So it is about protecting yourself. And I think, you know, that's why a lot of people you got some people getting lawyers and things like that. So I agree. It's hard, man. It's a tough one. But I'm confident that they're going to find the killer. I believe that what we find out, what the motive is going to be, I think it's going to surprise everyone. I don't think it's going to be, of course, obviously there's no justification for this, but regardless, I think it's going to be interesting to see what this sick individual decided to conjure up based off of. Listen, you know, we have kids who shot up schools because they were disrespected. They were made fun of, they were isolated, they were made, you know, they were called names and things like that. So, you know, that's the culture of America. You know, kids are growing up very sensitive. Kids are bullies, and everybody can't handle it. You know, everybody can't handle it. Any questions, you guys? Put a Q in front of your question. Pull it up on the screen. Let's go ahead and dive into some Q&A. The link is in the chat if you want to come up and ask any questions. Common sense expert says, why did the PD give the family sensitive information about the case? I don't know why. I think it's just their lack of experience dealing with these things. But they shouldn't have. And then also, I think it's just a simple assumption that you think they're not going to go on live television and just, you know, go off. They've been having the father and, you know, they've been actually going in on the media, and you're criticizing the department that's supposed to be solving this crime for not just you, but the other victims as well. You know, the other victims as well. So I think it's just inexperience. Because they should have been assigned a victim advocate through the police department, and they eventually did, but now it's kind of like the damage is already there. Milu says MK Ultra, that's why the FBI showed up so quick. Shoot. Listen. Oh, that stuff. You know what's interesting about that? Propaganda, and I would say this country's very good at using propaganda against um, its own people, to say the least. Right? Its own people. That's what's really sad about a lot of things in this country is that they're not. They do it willingly, and at this point, it's out in the open. Out in the open. Um, Comments the U.S. government. I wonder though where we're gonna go from here. What else is gonna happen? What's gonna be revealed? Eventually, what's gonna happen, you guys, is a student is going to crack. There's going to be someone who's going to crack and release information. They're not going to be able to hold it in. They're going to give up. They're going to give the information up about something somebody did. And the reason why this most likely is the suspect. I guarantee you someone's going to break. But it takes a slip up. Someone's going to have to slip up. And it's always someone's going to snitch on somebody this magnitude. There's definitely multiple people involved. So we'll see. We'll see. Good question. Are case files and our photos released to the public after the case? Curious, what of the Idaho case will be released if it's solved and convicted? Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah, that stuff. Perfect example. Jeffrey Dahmer, right? Casey. All of those cases become public record. Once it's done, it's done. And just what Dre was saying before, I'll tell you about everything after we got the suspect in custody, arrested and the case is solved. Because at that point, there's nothing you can do to kind of ruin this case. After everything's been done, I can have a little bit more, a more relaxed conversation with you about what we did, how we found the killer, so forth and so on. But no, that stuff, once that stuff is through the courts and all done, those records come out. The only way you're not going to get that stuff is if it's like juvenile related stuff. You're not really getting access to that. That stuff is sealed. T King says, hopefully someone slips up and starts talking. This case will be difficult, especially with all the mistakes. Yeah, they had a bad first start, which is a bad problem. Someone will slip up. They always do. Shout out to Miss AB. She's right. Someone always slips up. And someone will definitely tell, because what will end up happening is the parents, what ends up happening is the person who is the least involved, but involved, is the one that's going to what we call tell, spill the beans, sing, snitch. Why? Because they equally have as much to lose, though they may not have participated as much or was involved as much. But I'm not going to make any speculations. But again, in situations like this, the reality is everybody is a suspect. When you have two couples, a married couple, and the wife winds up dead or the husband winds up dead, who's the primary suspect? The spouse, the other spouse, right? The other spouse. Then you find out that the kids were getting a nice check because of the parent died. Then guess who becomes the next primary suspect? The kids. That's just how it works. It's not personal for us when we're investigating these things. We just follow the evidence. So in situations like this, people are like, okay, well, there's people in the house when the murders happen. You guys, I'm looking at them too. I'm looking at everybody. I'm questioning everybody, even the parents. Nobody is safe from the investigation. Follow the evidence. Follow the evidence. Hash says, do you think the FBI will be talking to convicted serial killers in prison to get their insight, like Science of the Lamb? I know they do that and have done that, but I think it's more so along the lines of if it's a serial killer. then if they recognize a pattern of it being more like a copycat type of thing, yeah, they do consult. They do consult. They have in the past. They do consult. In this case, no. This case, honestly, is relatively, to be completely honest with you, this is a relatively easy case to solve. And I say that in the most respectful way. The evidence is within the victims. The evidence, the evidence of who the killer is can only be found within the victims. All the answers are there. You just have to connect the pieces properly. Was this the only other thing that this could be, if not an orchestrated event by a enraged, revengeful, looking for revenge student, or ex-friend, current friend, whatever, type of thing. You stole my boyfriend, you stole my girlfriend. One of those type of petty college love triangle things. The only other thing it would be a serial killer. That would be the only other obvious explanation. But outside of that, no, this is definitely an emotional revenge type of murder. But that's a good question, though. Someone else mentioned before about them not giving out an award. But that's something they can always do later down the line. I think sometimes giving out an award can give the wrong impression that you either don't know more than you think you know, or you're not as confident as to the information that you have. And so you're giving out an award because you need people to provide something that they're not really providing. Normally, when people give out awards, the citizens aren't cooperating. There's not much tips to go off of. They have no leads. And so they're kind of drawing straws. And so that award money is to really entice people to kind of like be active, be vigilant. But hell, you have an entire college campus they don't want killers around, and they want the person found. And so they're more than happy to cooperate. And so why give an award when someone is going to go out their way to make sure they provide as much information as possible? The only person that's not going to cooperate are the killers, the people involved. So, Michelle, how are you doing, my dear? Good to see you again.
Good. How are you? I'm actually Mia Lou, by the way. I had to change my handle. I was getting like some strange
you good?
Instagram type stuff.
Nah, y'all good. Y'all good. Welcome back. What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this horrific?
You know what this reminds me of? I don't know if you remember, and I was halfway joking about MK Ultra, but I think that I don't know if you remember, but this is what I'm leading to. There's we're a month in. You have characters developing. I consider these parents to be very much like caricatures. They are, yes, they are entitled for sure. They're also, they give me this Southern mob justice type, and
Yes.
I don't even really want to say, I don't want to offend anybody, but they give me this vibe. They have an energy about them,
He whistled at me kind of vibe.
Yeah. They have that energy. So, I guess, there's something about them. Yeah, she had the FBI that showed up, seems like pretty quickly, to what should be, I guess you would consider a local murder. But I guess the thing that sticks out to me about this that's strange, it has this separation of reality, like I can't think of how to pronounce his first name. It's this young kid out of Louisville, Quintessent Brown. I don't know if you recall this. He shot at the mayor, or gentleman running for mayor. Berger, I can't think of his name.
Yeah.
But you know, the backstory about this is that this kid, I don't remember if he was actually a student of U of L, but he, you know, hometown kid, you know, just everything you'd want a young man to be growing up in the community, somewhat of an activist, just disappears for several weeks, going into I think a couple months. Shaves his head, you know, falls off the face of the earth. He blends in somehow to U of L community, then just blends, just ghost. Next thing you know, he shows up and takes a shot at one of the electoral candidates for mayor. Now he's in, you know, state prison. Just all of a sudden just flips out, you know. So this is what people are doing. They're just flipping out and shooting at the mayor. But the story about it was just so ridiculous because the narrative, and nobody had enough sense to follow up and change the narrative. But apparently this young man shoots at the mayor, grazes his sweater, right? So the bullet grazes the sweater. And then somehow his campaign workers are able to just rush in while he's in the room shooting at this man, push him out while he's holding a gun, and barricade him out, as to him not shooting anything else. He just, you know, vaporizes. And then they catch him. He's in state prison right now. But, you know, I think just the absurdity of that, you know, when you start thinking about how is all this even physically possible? You know, how did this happen? You know, what if this kid really went crazy? You know, and I guess I know it happens. I'm sure it happens. Right. But, you know, I always just think, you know, there's always these missing pieces. And then, of course, same thing happened. The government swooped in, made this a federal case, or they're trying to make it a federal case now, right? So it went to state. He's in state prison. Now they're trying to somehow collect this case over, you know, a mayoral candidate. You know, so, you know, I guess from when you kind of look at this story, I still just can't get over, whether it's just like a tick in my head, I can't get over how you're not hearing the vibration of screams in the winter when you have a whole side of the front house that has several windows, where you're not hearing the vibration from sound between floors.
I think the problem is, you know, this is a college town. It's not uncommon to hear the yelling, the partying, the loud music, the screams. I mean, it's 3, 4 o'clock in the morning, possibly. And, you know, based on what a lot of people were saying, like everybody's just walking around pissy drunk, you know, and there were 2 other people downstairs when, you know, on the first floor. So you have someone on the 2 people on 3rd floor being murdered. They're saying in their sleep. I'm so curious as to how they came to that conclusion. And then defensive wounds, you know, which I don't know. I would love to see the crime scene photos to really kind of get a understanding as to what they're looking at. But then the person was able to fight off 4 people. I just and again too, the knife is key.
Exactly, the knife, because you know it takes a lot of strength. I'm sure you've done knife training, right?
Yep.
You know how much strength it takes, even when you push into with your shoulder, your chest, to continually stab. So even if someone had fought back, if they're saying, you know, this young lady had fought back, or that's why we don't know why she sustained more wounds, really. But if that's the case, if that's the moving theory, then the strength that you would have to somehow subdue one hand, 2 hands, you're still pushing in with your shoulder, right? maybe you're twisting in a maybe a 45 degree to be able to hold on to a knife. So the knife has to be heavy. You have to be heavy, you know, in that area, or strong in that area. And 4 people, you know, so I guess that's just hard for me to overcome, that you were able to overcome 4 people.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think
With no
and
noise.
no noise, and that's the thing, and it's so hard to say, you know, we don't know if music was playing in the house while they're
Yeah.
already there. We don't, it's so much that we don't know, unfortunately, to kind of get a, you know, even all the way to the part where, here's the thing, you have each door, the doors are supposed to be locked. They have their own locks on them. You know, when the 2 who were downstairs in their room, when they woke up and they wanted to make contact with the other roommates, they couldn't get access into their room, right? They're banging on the door. They're like, hey, they won't wake up, right? We think they're unconscious. They're concerned, and based on what, you know, the police, I guess the police statement, the way they worded it was that the friends who actually live on the first floor were concerned about the friends on the second and third floor, because they must have been banging on the door. And what that says to me is that they themselves don't have the access code to get into their room, right? Because they easily would have just opened the door and checked on them. They had to call the police. So they called the police because they could not get in contact with them, but they knew they were there because one of the victims' phones was not in the room with them, right? The phone, because the person who called 911 from one of the victim's phone, meaning the victim left their phone somewhere in the common area of the actual house. And so how did the suspect get in? Even if the suspect gained entry on the first floor through the main window, one of the windows has to be their bedroom of one of the residents that did not get killed, the 2 survivors of this attack. They could have gained entry in one of their rooms, or they could have gained entry to a sliding door, the back door, or a window that's not connected to a room but connected to the common area of the home. Or the suspect climbed and got access to the 3rd floor through the sliding glass window on the 3rd floor. So there's multiple ways to get in. There's no way to tell if the doors and windows were unlocked or secured, but what we do know is that there are locks on their doors leading into their bedrooms. And so none of those doors showed any signs of forced entry. One of the doors had an actual key lock, or a button lock, where you have to actually press a couple buttons in order to unlock the door. And one of the parents were saying that, let me find which parent said what. Took a note here. Xana's mother. The locks were redone by Xana's father. And yeah. And I think it was a week prior to this incident. And that says a lot of things.
It says a lot. Yeah, that does say
a lot. You know, it says a lot. It says, were there issues with someone who had access to that lock originally, and now it's being changed because you didn't want that person to have access to your room anymore? You know, so the locks were changed like a week prior to the murder. That says a lot. Or was the lock just broken and the dad finally got around to fixing it? So that's a thing. And if the locks were changed, why were they changed? And
who owned the property? Not one of the parents. This was a campus property, correct?
This is an off-campus property, so maybe like it could be owned by like an investor who you know just turned it into a college, kind of like a college home, you know, because the way that apparently there was an addition built onto the house to give it more room, so you know they're probably charging them maybe like I don't know, $600 per room or something like that a month or something like that, just to kind of as an investment property. But I haven't heard much about the owner of the actual property itself.
Yeah, that's strange. Because I guess you could even say that if you go from one room to the next, you could have I guess the thought to lock the door behind you as to, minimize access to the room. You
Right.
give yourself some time to, um, even maybe just to, I guess, manage. I don't know. I don't know, but just to keep someone else from going into the room.
Right.
But but how do you get past the button lock, the touch
And
lock?
unless they haven't spoke about what type of locks each door had.
Hmm.
But I'm curious, as either the doors were open and they were never closed. Again, the suspect gained access into um possibly 3 different rooms because because the the 2 girls lived on the 3rd floor. Kaylee and Madison, if I'm not mistaken, lived both, but they were found in one room. They were both killed in one room. They were in Madison's room when they died, if I'm not mistaken. They're in Madison's room. Allegedly, allegedly, I think she was on her way moving out. So let me see. Let me add this real quick so people can get a better idea, and I don't make sure I'm misspeaking on this. So Kaylee and Madison were on the 3rd floor, but they were actually in Madison's room when they were found killed in Madison's room. Xana and Ethan were on the middle floor, and they were also killed in their sleep as well. I believe they shared a room together, if I'm not mistaken. I'm not 100% sure. But I know they are a couple, so I'm assuming they are sharing a room together. And then of course on the ground floor, Bethany and Dylan. And
Hmm.
so that's the layout there as to what happened. How they gained access to the home had to have been through the front door, or one of these other entries. I mean, there's so many entry points. And the 2 things I'm most concerned about is, one, if the killer was already in the house,
Yeah.
um, and or they gain access through has to be one of these entry points. And yeah, but
Or someone they were familiar with and they just let kind of hang out. You go to sleep
yeah,
and you used to having multiple people in the house. You go to sleep. It's no big deal. You separate into
correct,
your rooms. You think other
correct.
people are going to entertain them. And then
Yep,
the next thing you know, yeah, you're
yep.
being stabbed in your sleep or stabbed in your
That's
bed
just
or whatever. Yeah, so this is odd. Well, we're counting on you to break this down the same way you broke down the Breonna Taylor case, because
yeah.
I do think there's sort of another layer to it, but it is really strange, and I don't rule out anything when it comes to the federal government.
Nope, nope, nope. You
I
never.
hate the government.
Yeah, you never rule. You
Yeah,
never
I
rule.
don't
You
rule
never rule
anything.
anything. I don't rule anything
Yeah.
out until I see the evidence.
Background of the parents, yeah, all of the parents.
Absolutely.
Why are we focusing so much on this one family? How are they able to create, to pull all the air out of the situation? So,
Mm,
just things like this.
yeah,
I don't think you've heard anything from the other families really.
not like
Um,
this.
Not like
It
this, not that
because
crazy.
they're trying to protect the image of their daughter. That's why.
Yeah.
And there's reasons for them to do that. So I see this with parents who struggle to believe that their kids, aren't
Problematic. Yeah.
princes and princesses, right?
Mhm.
And so it's like damage control. You kind of want
Mhm.
to. That's why the moment they're like, the parents are saying they want the stuff back from their kids. I'm like, what? Give them the stuff out of the house of horrors, the homicide house? No, we don't give anything away. Because there could be one of the parents or even the kids of the parent. Like there could be someone amongst them that know something that they're not sharing, and evidence that could lead to incriminating or whatever could be amongst that stuff, or just simple the evidence needed to help solve the case could still be in the house amongst their things that the police and the investigators at the moment are not aware of, you know. And so you could essentially give away something that you might not know you needed until next week. Right?
Right.
Just like they're
Right.
just now like, hey, let's take the car. Something may have triggered them in the midst of their investigation, like, oh man, we need to go through the car, right? Because something may have connected something to the car. Whereas it's just a good practice, regardless if you know if the car is involved, you take the car anyway. It should have been taken on day one. But this now you see this need to take the car. Like all of a sudden, it's weeks later, it's like, hey, by the way, look at the car might be involved. Get the car, you know.
Yeah, doesn't seem like they created a cocoon around the situation. You know,
They should have.
I mean, yeah. So, and yeah, so the investigators actually did give the parents back items. Is it? Okay. I thought you were saying that was something related to something that had happened to you before, but these parents got back.
Yeah, these parents. Yeah, these parents. They started giving the belongings, personal belongings of each of the victims. And I'm saying that until you're done with the house, then you're not done with the things in the house.
Right.
And so none of those things should have been given out until you're confident that you've combed through everything you needed in the house, and you no longer need at this. It's been a month. They should have scanned that house. I mean, you have the FBI involved. They have ways of putting things together. Nothing leaves the house until it's done. Nothing should be given away until it's done. Everything is a clue. Everything is evidence, all the way down to the bitter end. You know, the suspect could have did what they did, went in there and took things out of the home. You know, maybe there's some evidence of something connecting the killer to some other stuff, and then you go in there and then you're giving away stuff, and you just don't know. You know what I mean? You don't know what you don't know, and therefore you don't give anything away until you're comfortable and confident that you have combed through everything that's necessary for this particular case. And I don't like the way I don't like their evidence gathering procedure. You know, I will say that. I don't like the way they were gathering and securing the crime scene. The crime scene is not secure whatsoever. They got the crime tape right up. If you look on the picture, the crime tape is right up on the house. Like, you know, this thing should have been roped off at least 2 stories high worth of, I mean, like you said, the best description you said, like a cocoon.
Is that one of their actual vehicles pulled up to the house?
That's
or
one
is
of
that
the
just
police,
like a
like a little still shot.
image?
No. The cops' car, the Moscow Police Department, they're all up on the front of the house like that.
Okay.
And but you know, my thing is the problem is I don't know. You need to have coverage watching the house on all 4 sides. To be honest, I don't like the way it was secured, and you know, and you're in a college town. Believe it or not, you have frat kids who will be like, "Hey, let's break into the haunted murder house,
Yeah.
you know, the house of horror, and let's kind of goof off and like drink in here." You know, like you got kids that'll do dumb stuff like that too. So you got to also be mindful that you got kids who will do pranks thinking that the shit is cute, and it's really not. Like, you know, they don't have enough sense. You hear about those things all the time in these college towns. Like the kids are retarded. They think that it's fun to kind of go in there and kind of, hey, let's take pictures next to the blood stain on the room. You know, this is, you know, like they do stuff like that, and just the immaturity of a lot of kids these days. So you got to be careful. You know.
Sick.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I know here they, I mean, you don't have a whole lot of visible crime scenes, even in Phoenix, right? But I know here it was, they would put fences around properties. have a local fence company come out and put up one of those temporary fences around properties that, and have the signs all over, whatever, crime scene, whatever. But, you don't see a lot of that anymore. But I know that
Right.
used to be, especially with our new police chief, but that used to be something, even if if there is maybe not a murder, but, shots ringing out, like on certain sides of town, they would make a visible barrier, some type of visible barrier around where they're working, where they're collecting evidence, and you would have the little satellite vans with the little things on top that are
Yeah, yeah.
constantly spinning right out there.
Yep.
And until they were done, So yeah, this is strange. This is just really strange. I don't put anything past the situation. I do think it's strange knowing that you had a father come in and install or reinstall locks. And yeah, I'm not, of course, I'm not blaming
Right.
anyone, but I just think that's strange that you would have that where you have a landlord, where you have someone responsible for that property.
Right.
So, that just is weird to me as well. But, I guess, and fathers do that. I have a protective father, so I get it. But, that's weird. Because I
Yeah.
think even as a parent, you say, well, call your landlord. It's their responsibility, or whatever. And then he's just getting around to doing it a week before. It's just weird. The whole thing is just strange.
Yeah, the
Makes no
timing
sense.
is the timing doesn't help at all. I mean,
Mm-mm.
it definitely opens the door to a lot of questions. And I tell people too, you also have to remember this is college. What goes on in college? Drama,
Mm-hmm.
and drama can get you killed.
Yeah.
It just can. And you know, um, if this is not a serial killer, then this is drama based.
Yeah.
This is all drama based, and someone obviously like 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 it happens all the time. Somebody takes it too far and is willing to take someone's life because their feelings were hurt.
Yeah.
You know,
It's sad.
it is sad.
But it's definitely a study in, just kind of the direction that things are going right now.
Absolutely.
And how we need to just stay praying.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it was good to talk to you. I'm really interested to know what happens with this. I'll keep watching for your updates.
Yes, please do. Yeah, I'm definitely gonna stay on this. I'm really anxious myself. I wish I was a part of the investigation team. Would love to have, given my input and try to, the way I look at these cases and the things that I would recommend. I look at the most efficient way to rule people out as possible. And that's how you get the ball rolling.
Mm-hmm.
And I know that they are working tooth and nail to get this investigation, to get this solved. And so I have no doubt in my mind. And we're gonna have to be patient.
Yeah, they don't want to have to deal with these crazy people, these
Absolutely
crazy
not.
parents, and
Absolutely not.
they definitely don't want to have to deal with all of that. So, and I know it makes their job 10 times harder. But you know what? I'll let you go after this. But you know what I'm struck by? The difference between when and I hate to make everything about race because you know how I feel about race, but the difference between when a black mother has to carry that burden.
Mm.
And what we have seen, what we saw here, I think it's the entitlement thing again.
It's
That
entitlement.
strikes me. It just strikes me hard, when you're kind of looking at that situation. They did themselves no favors
No, they didn't.
whatsoever. No
No,
favors.
no.
And I
It wasn't
I
good.
can see them trying to push this, in cable news level, right? So. But all right, we'll wait and see.
We'll wait and see. Play the waiting game. We'll be
Yeah.
back on here when we do figure it out. But listen, thank you again, as
Yeah.
always. Always welcome. Always love your insight you bring to the conversation.
Oh, I don't know if I brought any insight, but I just thought it was interesting. I had to get that kind of I had to get past those mental barriers I was coming
Yes.
across in this, right? All right.
Absolutely.
Good to talk to you, though. You take care.
Always. Have a good one.
Bye.
Bye. She brings a good point. I've dealt with a lot of families who've lost loved ones, who have obviously been tragically killed, and there are people who are still, it's so sad. People who are still looking for justice. This is difficult for everybody involved. I just ask that, make sure, people who are talking about this case online and everything, make sure you're being mindful that it's 4 victims here. It's 4 victims, and everybody involved is definitely hurting behind this. The tragedy, the life that's lost too soon. I say it all the time. A lot of the senseless killings that's been taking place a lot lately in this country, and it's very heartbreaking and it's very disappointing how the morality in this country is just fallen so low, so low, or we just disregard the value of life, because we're hurt, our feelings are hurt, we're mad at somebody, or whatever it might be. We feel like the next course of action is to take a life. And I always say it on this channel is that, unfortunately, people use permanent methods to address temporary problems. And, to me, that's what this case is about. Yep. Any questions? You guys? We hit the 3-hour mark. I think we did pretty good. I figured this would be good to get everybody caught up on. So as we do a next stream, when we get more information regarding this, some groundbreaking information. I can't stand all the tit for tat information that comes up involving, cases like this. They're like, oh, a tire mark was found, and they got to do this whole, everybody wants to talk about the tire mark. No, let's talk about something significant. Let's talk about something suspect identified, someone cracked, someone spilling the bean, like that's significant. All these little, we think that the killer may have tripped going down the steps, so everybody's really hypersensitive about this topic and want to share. So anybody else want to come up before we shut it down? Any questions before we go? Speak now or forever hold your peace. And then, definitely stay tuned to our next stream. I don't know. There's been so much going on. I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, golly, the country's falling apart, and so this case I've been staying close to, really fascinated about the case. Really wish I could see the evidence and provide some insight. But again, they have people working this case that have way more experience and way more knowledge than I do. So for me, I just love helping to solve crimes. I love helping bringing people to justice. And I love the feeling that you get when you bring closure to for the family. And it's such an addictive feeling to help and serve people. And so when I see things like this, I just really want to volunteer my time and do what I can to contribute. So, but yeah, so that's it, you guys. Got some new stuff I'm gonna be adding to the stream. Got some cool equipment. So I can't wait to get everything connected. You guys know I'm coming off of a hard drive loss, so that set me back a whole month of activity on YouTube. So I'm a little hurt by that, but working on getting some things back. So I lost a lot of content because of that. So that really broke my heart last month, trying to, get out of that situation and get the equipment back together. But that's cool. Everything happens for a reason. And that's just the YouTube algorithm wanting to keep a brother down, because we talk about some very, very good stuff on this channel. And we have great guests that come up and provide some great conversations. So we are getting the ball back rolling, you guys. There's a lot of things we're going to cover. So I'm looking forward to it. So stay tuned. If you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Be a part of this journey, you guys. We are on our way to 20,000 subscribers. So so definitely make sure you subscribe or join the channel if you see value. Thank you so much for everybody who has donated tonight. You guys, it's truly a blessing, and I appreciate it so much. There's I don't know, I might talk about the Trump situation. You know, a lot's going on in Georgia, you guys. Georgia is like under a microscope since the election. So there's some things regarding that investigation as well with Trump and the phone call, that whole thing about the voting. So I have some insight in reference to that as well that I want to provide. So we'll see what direction it goes in. We'll bring it up. The Brittany Griner situation. I was going to talk about that, but I was just like, I was so disappointed in that trade. I didn't even think it was even worth having the conversation because I just didn't have anything to say. But besides the fact that that was a stupid thing that they did. I did a stream. The last stream we did was on the kids who were shooting each other, killed two juveniles, a 12-year-old and a 15-year-old. Is it 12, 15? Yeah, out in Atlanta. Well, the shooters have been identified. I think it's a 15-year-old and a 16-year-old that's been arrested. I was gonna stream about that too. You know, man, I just hate talking about all this death. You know, it's very depressing. You know, it's very depressing. But the conversations that come out of it are very necessary. So every time I think I want to do an upbeat stream, talk about rainbows and Skittles, something like this happens, and then we got to talk about it. Always try to give you guys a different perspective, absolutely different perspective, because a lot of people are trying to give you the news. They're trying to give you their feelings, and I'm here to give you the facts. So, thank you guys so much for subbing. I really, really appreciate it. This is a good question. How rare is a case like this? It's not rare at all, actually. Maybe the quadruple homicide. The quadruple homicide is rare. I would say it's not the norm, but they happen. And again, I worked one myself. They happen. And, mine was rooted in a mental health situation. My suspect suffered from mental health issues, but nonetheless, he did it, right? And he used a knife. And, I talked about that case before on the stream, very gruesome. I pulled up the news article. It was on First 48, you guys. If you want to see me, I'm on First 48. I'm on that episode, actually. It was an episode that was actually aired. It was funny. When First 48 came to Atlanta, when they came to Georgia and they started filming, it seemed like our murders went up that year. I don't know what it was. It was almost like the criminals were excited to kill just to be on the show. And it was probably the most horrific crime scene I've ever seen in my life. It's actually one of the reasons that caused me to leave that department. It was just too much violence, seeing too much death. I started getting older. It didn't sit well with me. Ended up transferring out of the department. And so going somewhere where it was a little bit less death, it was too much. I'm not gonna lie, it was too much. But these disappearances and killings, the problem is there's a lot of death that happens in this country, and a lot of these murders go unsolved. And what happens is the media is very selective as to what they decide to show. And so that's why a lot of times to the average everyday living person, when you hear these things, because the media is putting emphasis on it, people are shocked. They're like, oh my God. But to be completely honest with you, no, these barbaric homicides happen a lot. Sometimes not in quadruples, but some, doubles and triples for sure. Sometimes gang related, a lot of times gang related. Sometimes you'll have like a domestic related where, it's a triple homicide, the spouse, whatever, catches the other spouse, takes everybody out, then takes themselves out, Or, we had a case recently here in Georgia where you have a parent takes the kids out, takes themselves out, that's domestic related. So, those are things, so they do happen. They don't always get the media attention. So it's not uncommon. Most I've seen have been domestic related or gang related. Yeah, gang related. So they happen a lot for sure. For sure. Not always with a knife though. Every knife case I've had was always domestic. Never had a knife case where it wasn't domestic, So usually, that's why people are always quick to be like, oh, it's a crime of passion, some type of intimate, there's some type of intimate relationship, not sexual intimate, but a close relationship between the parties involved. And so, but this right here, man, this case is unique because of the entry. There's no speaking. There's no discussion of the prints, footprint, shoe print. The crime scene on the outside looks really clean. It looks like the killer took their time getting themselves together before they left the house. And that says a lot. I had a burglary where the guy was breaking, and we called him the serial bandit. And what he was doing, he was breaking into people's houses, taking all their shit. But then before he leave, he'd sit down and have a bowl of cereal in your house before you got home. And, I would process the scene, and I started seeing a pattern. It was always a cereal bowl. And, the people come home like, hey, I didn't leave this bowl out here before I left. And I'm like, oh shit, is that the suspect came here and ate? Had one where the same suspect eating food, getting clothes out of the house, right? I mean, could you imagine someone going in your home, taking their time, going through your shit, grabbing your stuff? Let me get this, let me get that. And then like, shit, I'm a little hungry. It's a lot of work breaking into a house, you guys. It's not that simple. I had to climb in here, do all this, steal your shit, and I worked up appetite. What does he do? The guy was sitting down, poured a bowl of cereal, was not worried about getting caught. I think he hit like 7 homes, hit one home twice. It was a big deal. You guys made the news. It was a big deal because he was hitting all these houses, and eventually, of course, you have a serial burglar, legit serial. We were calling him a serial burglar. He was in there eating cereal in people's houses. He was hitting the house, and then he was eating food, chilling, and he was putting people's clothes on and stuff like that. He go in there and one house, he went in one house and took a shit. Could you imagine the audacity? The fact, first of all, I'd have been like, don't take a shit in my house. All right. That right there is disrespectful. Not only did you break into my house, you ate a bowl of cereal, then you shat. How they call it? Shite? You can shite it in the toilet? Nah, son, you gotta go. If I come home and you've eaten my cereal, listen. And I stay with Captain Crunch and Cinnamon Toast Crunch and damn Lucky Charms. If I come in the house and you touch my Cinnamon Toast Crunch, and then I walk around and you sitting on my toilet seat, listen, you catching a soul bond on the toilet. I'm sending you up while you're on the toilet. 2 to the chest, 1 in the head. Soul bond. You're out of here. I would be what? So, one of the homes we're processing, we came back, and the lady came home. She was freaking out. I think he shit it in the toilet. I was like, ma'am, how do you know? You know what she said? My shits aren't that big. You can't make this up. You can't make this up. I'm telling you right now. Could you imagine? You live by yourself, you come home. And you're like, oh, I didn't leave this here. And you're freaking out. You're like, hold up. Someone's in my house. You guys, people were freaking out. You guys, I was part of a burglary task force. And I love working burglaries. That's all I did. That's all I did for a couple years. I really, really enjoyed it. And, so when this incident happened, it was such a big deal. We had to do a big press conference. And I'll never forget, she came in there, like, as a detective, as an investigator, you're not looking around like, let me see if he left it all in the toilet. Didn't even, Harris said he didn't even flush, didn't flush. Didn't, just left it. The disrespect, man. The disrespect. I got to find some of those photos, man, because I remember dusting the print on the bowl, man. Let me see. Let me see. Do I have it on here? Do I have it on here? Let me see. Because I pulled some stuff, actually. You guys, have been in the process trying to repair my computer because I lost everything. Hold up. Is this right? Okay. I lost my hard drive, so let me see. I'm gonna show you the bowl because I have it. Hold on. I'm gonna show you. I have it here. So, anyways, for those who don't know, I had my computer crashed, and my computer crashed last month, and I lost everything, and I had to send my hard drive off to try to see if they can save it. But let me see if I could pull a picture up real quick. I'm gonna show you guys some because I have it on here. I was going through here putting stuff back on. Would you like to scan? All right, no. All right, let me see if I can pull up a picture because I kept all of my work files and stuff together. Actually, let me show you this real quick. You guys won't believe me. And I'm gonna show you when I was dusting for prints and stuff like that, so what it would look like. And actually, did it disconnect? Even this thing acting up. All right, let me see. I'm gonna show you guys some. Dre said he deleted some of his stuff, and let me see if I can. It should be. I want to see if I can find some stuff for you guys. So many photos, but this particular, I remember just looking at it the other day, and I was like, "This will be cool to share with you guys." But at the same time, it's like, I never know. Normally, like when we're having these conversations about evidence, I'm always thinking about some random cases. Oh, come on. Why is this thing acting up? Why is this thing acting up? I don't have time for that. I should have just. How big is this file? 1 gigabyte? Nah, it might not work. Give me 1 second, y'all. Let me see if I can find this. So this particular case, when we have a situation like this, oh my God. It's not gonna let me pull it up. I think this thing is just whack at this point. I'm sorry, I might not even be able to pull it up. I was talking all that mess. Let me see. That just goes to show I need to really get this thing together. Where was it at? In the 40s. I just want to show y'all this damn picture. This thing is acting up. Let me see and go back. Yeah, so in situations like this, is like, I would dust for fingerprints. I want to show you exactly what that looks like. Is it? It might be in this folder. Oh my God. Damn, this sucks. I feel bad now. I hyped it up now. I can't even show y'all. I'm gonna get it together. I promise. I'm gonna have some. What we'll do is I have some photos for you guys. Hold up. Is this it? It keeps disconnecting because the drive is. I'm pissed. Never mind. I don't know why this isn't working. I think the drive is no good. Sorry, y'all. I wanted to show y'all this. I'm gonna put some stuff together for y'all. But nonetheless, I think we're gonna have a day where I'll show y'all some. I gotta give y'all something. What do I have on here? Do I have anything on here that I put on here? I can't. Y'all want to see me getting tased? I had to pull this video. I don't know if it'll work though. Yeah, I'll show y'all. Let me give y'all something to go away with. Since I can't get this flash drive to work, I don't know why it's not. I don't know why it's not working, but I did pull some videos. So I was actually putting some stuff together for Dre. Actually, had a little moment when we were reminiscing on the old days of the academy days, and I was putting some videos together from our academy, and I have some videos of me being tased. I was going to show you guys. I guess I can show y'all. So for y'all that don't know, before we close out, so when we didn't have tasers when I first started. I started back in 2006, 2007 policing. We didn't have tasers. So the reason why we ended up getting tasers is because we're actually shooting a lot of people, but they were justified. I can't remember. I think we had like 19, if I'm not mistaken. I can't remember what it was that kind of led to them saying like, nah, we need to give them we need to give them tasers because they're out here taking people up out of here. So the county ended up giving us tasers to basically, you know what? I'm gonna show y'all from here because I got it on here for sure. Damn, I wanted to show you guys those prints. So anyways, we end up having to actually get tased, and so let me see if this video works. It's quick though, because when we recorded this, you guys, we didn't have these sophisticated we didn't have these real sophisticated cell phones. So, remember we had those little flip phones? That's kind of how we recorded this. Let me see if I can put this on here. Let's just try this one more time, see if it works. That's not. Okay, here it is. Found it. Jeez. Hold on. So let me pull it up. Fuck. I was so close. Yeah. So hash, what ended up happening, my hard drive ended up crashing, wiped out everything. And you get so comfortable putting stuff together, you never think that stuff's gonna happen to your you never think stuff is gonna happen to watch this. I'm about to figure it out because I'm a G like that. Watch this. I'm about to get. Fuck. Come on, download. The stuff I do for y'all. Come on. Did it work? Got him. Ooh, watch this. All right, check this out. Here we go. All right, here we go. I'm about to show you a little something. So from that case, this is the actual, let me see. This is the footprint that he left in the actual house, the other file didn't go. And I'm gonna show you the actual bowl. All right, let me see. Oh, here it is. Check this out. This is the shoe print he left. Believe it or not, this actually helped us solve the case. So the guy, the burglar, the serial burglar, you guys, he left a shoe print. So what does it look like when we actually dust for shoes? This is me dusting for prints on the shoe. This is why, you know, with this case now with the Idaho murders, it's like, you know, were there any prints, shoe prints? These things matter. What can I get from the shoe print? One, I get the style of the shoe. What else do I get? I get the shoe size. And so not only the style of the shoe, I also get the brand of the shoe. And so I can track this print from inside the house to outside of the house. I mean, there's a lot. This is key. It's important. When I'm doing a search warrant on a person's house, if I have a suspect, I then know what type of shoe. I can match the forensics with this, with what the suspect has on the boot. So this was a suspect's shoe print. What else happened? We're able to link the suspect because, you know, we had similar boot print from one house to another house, be able to link him to multiple houses along with his fingerprint. And we're able to locate the boot itself. When he was arrested, he was wearing the exact same boot with the exact same print on the bottom of it. So that helped a lot. We also had one where he broke the glass. There was still glass wedged in between the boot. You guys, that's also evidence as well. So you can imagine what that looks like when you are collecting and comparing cases. So check this out. Then we had that. That's the same print from like a further away photo on the floor. Then the infamous cereal bowl. And I think the other picture, I was able to get a print off this bowl. I dusted this bowl that he was actually eating out of. We were able to collect the print. So I always, after I finish dusting, I always take a picture. And I think the other picture did not come out well. That was this one, but you get the picture. So yeah, this was a very very interesting case. Again, but it was good. Once it was solved, you know, locked him up, charged him for like the 7-8 burglaries that he did commit. I think he admitted to some, but not all of them. But again, it was the same MO. You know, what they say, you should shower and shave in your house and then take your stuff out. Right. So, but let me see if I can pull up the one with the taser. Let me see if I can find that real quick. It's right here. But damn, I wish I could show you. I want to see if, let me see this. Let me see if I can get the video. Y'all don't judge me. So whoever was recording, this is this is the very moment. I had to find a way to spin this around so it's up straight. You guys don't judge. This is actually when we had the these are from an old flip phone. So this is me first time getting tased. You get shot in the back, and this is when, let me tell you what happened. I'll give you the backstory behind me getting tased. This is what happened. I showed up to training late. I got to training late, and so I was actually the first person to go. And basically, they were like, "Hey, we're gonna do a practice demonstration of the taser, and do we have any volunteers?" And nobody wanted to get a taser. The first experience, nobody wanted this at all. And they're like, Nathan, they call you the last name. They're like, all right, Daly, you're up. And I'm like, I didn't volunteer. You did when you showed up late. So listen, I don't know what this thing feels like. You know, I think I may have been maybe 4 years into the police department at the time, and we're just not getting tasers. So I'm nervous. I'm sitting here. Now your back is facing the instructor, or your back is towards the instructor. You're facing your coworkers, and you have two officers on the side holding you up, right? Like holding your hands up. And so they're talking about how to properly tase people, blah, 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 blah. So the instructor says, now mind you, you're nervous. I'm sweating. I'm nervous. The instructor's like, all right, you guys, when you have your taser, what you want to make sure you do, you want to practice the safe way, pow, and he shot me in the back. Just that quick. He shot me without giving me any warning. You guys, that shit hurt so bad. It hurt so bad. And he did it because, and after it was all done, he's like, all right, you guys, that's what you don't do when you're shooting a suspect, right? You want to make sure you explain to them how to do this and how to do that. So he did that on purpose. He was like, treat me as a guinea pig. So this is the video that a friend of mine recorded, and I still have it to this day. When I was going through my stuff trying to repair, like add stuff back to my hard drive, I came across the video. I was like, oh snap, I remember this. And I try to put it aside. So anyways, this is me. Listen, it goes quick. It goes by quick. All you gotta do is hear me screaming. Hold on, this is behind the scenes. I'm about to end up editing this out after the stream is over. This just for y'all, the last 50 watching. Y'all get to see this. No judgment. Knocked out. That was horrible. Listen, this brings back bad memories, you guys, but that is my taser experience. Not fun at all. Not fun at all. Anyways, a little something nice to lighten up the mood after this this conversation. Horrific experience that I had. I'll never forget. I think this is me getting up off the ground. Let me see if this comes up. Okay, look, this is in 2009. Let me see if this comes up. And this is the after effect.
Always give the opportunity to comply. Sir, if you do not comply, you will be tased. A lot of people out there not being tased.
Back when I had some hair too, you guys. You see, I got a full head of hair. But yeah, this was painful. It wasn't enjoyable. But the things you do to be a police officer. Anyways, you guys, thank you so much for just joining in tonight. Very, very tough conversation. A lot of interesting things about this case. I know there's still so much going on, so much information that needs to be revealed. You know, we just ask that everybody just have patience, right? That's all we could do. That's all we could do, and let the investigation do what it does. You know, rocky start. We all know that. It is what it is. Every situation can't be perfect, but we do know that people are working endlessly to put this piece together, find those responsible, and bring them to justice. So, you know, we'll follow up again on the stream when we have some good concrete stuff that's been released. And I'd love to get you guys' feedback. Until then, you guys, thank you so much just for being a part of the channel. Thank you so much just for supporting me. You guys know, just started my channel October last year. So, you know, we made one solid year. So I'm very, very grateful and blessed to be here. It's been a long journey. So with that being said, you guys, thank you so much. Definitely we'll be talking again before Christmas. But until then, let these truths find you where the lies have left you. Good night. God bless.